Show, the show before the show, we got Julian Marquez from the UFC middleweight, 7-1, all finishes. He's going to co-host today's show with us. And we also have Jared Rosholt, who you guys get this intel. We just hung up the phone with him, so it's going to be a pre-record. I reveal it during the show anyway, but we're going to catch up with Jared, and he is going to be fighting at PFL. PFL made that announcement where they have, I think 12 fighters per division, 6 divisions, and every winner is going to be a millionaire. And look, I'm telling you what, if you're not the UFC and you want to get yourself noticed, do something like what the PFL is doing, because it's got the athletes' attention, and a lot of good athletes have signed up for this tournament. And how about the fact that you fight a couple times this summer, and by the end of the year or early 2019, it's settled. You know, like,
you're there.
So you could you could be a free agent right now and just give it the best you've ever had for I think it's 5 fights. Gets you all the way to the finals, and maybe even the championship. I got to look at the format one more time.
That'd be a fun one to do, is just knowing that you have 5 fights within the year.
Yeah.
You know, instead of not knowing, you might fight once, you might fight 3 times, or just going up and down.
It reminds me of Bellator. So Bellator, when they first started, you remember they started with the tournaments,
yeah.
right? And so you would look at the 8 and go, like, I remember, I'm going to use Michael Chandler from formerly of Extreme Couture. I remember you look at the tournaments and you go, okay, yeah, I know Alvarez, or I know this guy, I know that guy. You know, Chandler, what the fuck? No nickname there, just never heard of him. Unless you followed him, in wrestling. He wrestled at Missouri. You really don't know who he is. But all of a sudden he comes in and he puts in some work. And by the time you get to the finals, you have to respect that he's taken out 2 guys and he's meeting another tough guy in the finals. And it's all happening. So the way Bellator would do it, it'd be like April 1st, quarterfinals, May 1st, semifinals, June 1st, finals. It all happened so quick that it stayed fresh in your mind, and at the very end, someone deserved to be either the tournament champion or to be fighting for a world title.
Yeah.
There's something about the word tournaments and Grand Prix. It does have something to it. That's why Pride used it, and Strikeforce used it, and Bellator also used it. And, of course, Bellator ran into problems when guys like Alvarez would lose. Alvarez was like, I'm not going through a fucking tournament again. So they had to start tweaking it and making exceptions. And then, of course, at some point, the Bjorn Rebney era was over. And then here comes Scott Coker, applying a different format. Matchmaking the way it's supposed to be done in combat sports versus these tournaments. But the tournaments had something to it. Now, here with PFL, they have what's called like a regular season, which, frankly, I'm not so sure why they're doing it. I just do a 16-man tournament for each weight class. And at the very end, whoever's left standing, boom, you guys fight for this $1 million prize, but that's attractive for the fighters.
So, like, what stinks about a tournament, like, say, when you're training for somebody, if you get hurt,
2 minutes.
like, you have to have someone that fills it in. So you have that 16-man bracket. Who do you bring? Whenever you're in the middle of the bracket, do you just call somebody up to fill in, and then you got a short notice fight?
That's a good question. I think we have talked to Ray Suffo, the president, and he's going to come in studio either this week or next week, and we're going to clear a lot of that up. But what I believe is they're going to have some alternates. And even then, if you get through some of those alternates, because injuries happen, man, you could hit someone and break your hand. You're the winner, but next thing you know, you can't continue because you got to have surgery. So a lot of things can happen, and I think what you could also do is maybe pick someone who lost but competed, kind of like Tough does, and bring them in, because I think that would be better than just someone random off the street that had nothing to do with alternates. Yeah, that's what I think, and I think it's going to happen in a few of the tournaments. Honestly, the way things are,
coming up in a minute.
The way things are, you're just going to see it and go, wow. Well, that guy kind of had a shortcut, but it's happening there. It's happening in the UFC. You remember UFC 3?
Yeah.
Steve Jenham. He just got tapped on the shoulder and said, "You got to go out," and he beat Harold Howard, and he became UFC 3 champion, ending the hoist run. All right, what's your clock saying? 21. Mine's ahead. What do I do?
30 seconds.
How do I restart that? Do I restart the whole computer?
I think so, yeah.
Shit.
We are at 30 seconds now.
All right, so I'm 26 seconds ahead. All right, I'll just have to fix that.
Peep here if you want.
I can do that too, yeah. All right, so we'll be right back in a couple minutes or seconds to start the real show. That was the pre-show. Julian's like, "What the fuck did I sign up for? This is like 3 shows."
We got this down.
Yeah, like 17 shows. All right, guys, coming up. Stand by.
All right.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me as always is the devious and dastardly Goes, Ari's co-host. To my right, it's UFC middleweight Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Oh, golden.
Whoa.
What happened to Beaver Rob? He kind of fell down there, huh?
What happened?
You just threw him out.
Oh, Danny Otto, producing back east. He's great. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Danny. I forgot about you.
That's me.
I was so fired up about the Cuban Missile Crisis that I forgot about our stellar producer, Danny, who's got a gig coming up, by the way. If you're in Brooklyn, it's coming up on Friday. So that goes for all of you New Yorkers or anybody in that tri-state area. All those cities are all close together, so it's
They
really
have funny names, huh?
They do. They do.
Schenectady and what are some of the other ones?
Poughkeepsie. Yeah, there's bizarre names out there in New York. But in Brooklyn, Danny Otto's band, Automatic 252 or 254?
253.
253. Yeah, they will be they'll be performing on Friday. Danny, what are the details? What's the name of that spot?
It's the Knitting Factory.
The Knitting Factory. All right. Danny's the lead singer of a band out there. So
is it hardcore punk or is it what is it?
It's pop punk.
Pop
punk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when he's not producing our show, he's the lead singer of that band.
That's legit.
And since I left them out of the actual intro, I'm making up for it right now by plugging his show.
My brother does. He travels a lot for his band. He's the lead singer in his and Spine. Maybe you guys.
That's
might know
the name
each
of the
other.
band. Spine.
Yeah, Spine.
Cool.
Spine. I'll definitely look it up.
Yeah.
What does he do?
They're hardcore punk. He travels around with his buddies and they just play shows all around.
He's a singer?
Yeah, he's a singer. He's signed by Bridge 9 Records, and they just put out a new album and a music video. It's called Spine.
Danny, look it up. Can you find anything from Spine?
Oh, they're pretty heavy.
Yeah?
They're tough. You know.
Has Spine always been like that same core group of guys, or have they had to make an adjustment?
No, they had the same core group. It used to be Sorry Excuse, and then they just kind of build up, and they just when you get your friends together, you guys have the same
They have each other's
mentality.
back.
Yeah, you have the mentality and music and where you want to go, and you just want something to be super heavy, but still get to the point. So they just created a new group, and it took off.
Is it Warm Now Cold? Is that the new song?
Yeah, Warm Now Cold. Yeah, I went to Kansas City for the music video a couple months back, and we sat there and just walked through Kansas City, and my brother's sitting there and lip syncing or singing the song while we're walking through Kansas City.
Who shoulders the responsibility of doing the lyrics for Spine?
My brother.
Oh, okay.
My brother. He's
Is he pretty good at it? He's cracking?
Oh yeah, it's heavy. He likes it. His lyrics are real good, but like I said, when it's heavy, it's the screamo type to people, but if you listen to the lyrics, they're pretty.
All right, let's hear it.
Sounds like a good time.
His breakdown. This just gets you animated.
You're getting animated
Oh yeah.
And so what's the name of this song?
This is Once Warm Now Cold.
Wow. And do you have any musical talents yourself?
No, I played the violin when I was a kid. That's about it. Sometimes I try to rap and flow and
Can you still do it, the violin?
No, I stopped.
But you'd remember something, right?
Yeah,
like if we go, hey, play us something, Julian, would you be able to do it?
Yeah, oh no. I played when I was younger, and I just forgot it. Like, I remember the notes and stuff, but I haven't practiced it in so long. I have the violin at my house because I wanted to start it back up.
Yeah, you should do that, dude.
He can actually get away with if one of his friends is giving him a sob story. He can actually just go like that.
Yeah.
And if the friend gives him shit, he's go, oh no, I was just going back to when I was a kid. You know.
I played in like an orchestra and everything. Like, me and my brother both started out on doing the violin. Because like back in like 5th grade, you had like the choice to do violin or you had to play the recorder.
I did the recorder.
So like
the recorder. What's the recorder?
It looks like a little flute-looking thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my brother was, he's older than me, so he chose the violin, and he played for 2 years, and then, it was my turn to come into the, 4th and 5th grade. So instead of playing the recorder, I wanted to play the violin. So I was playing that and just kind of took off, and my career ended because when we moved to Kearney, Missouri, which is like middle of nowhere country town, we moved there. They didn't have violin options. You could play any other instrument but violin. They didn't have anyone to teach it. So we just kind of just veered off of it. But I loved.
Well, I am lost right now.
Either hitting your hips or playing the banjo. What?
Yeah, I wish I could do that stuff. I tried learning drums. It's just very difficult. Guitar, I've done a little bit of it, but
if I knew how to play the violin, every date I go on would strategically have a violin just kind of sitting off to the side, and then I'd have my guy go, "Hey man, don't you know how to play that?" And then I'd Ron Burgundy it and just
go in there and just kill it.
Yeah.
No, I wanna bring it back. That's what I do a lot, because I'm in such a violent sport. You got to get your mind calm, and to me, classical music always made me calm. Like, funny little thing is, before I walk out, I listen to like Frank Sinatra, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, The Temptation, because the music in that era was so soothing, and like the melodies were so soft, like smooth, that nowadays if you listen to heavy music, your heart rate rises and your adrenaline goes. So I listen to classical music. That's why.
That's an interesting spin.
Well, think about like Akiyama when he used to come out, right?
Oh,
that was
awesome.
pretty cool.
That was a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
Honestly. You remember Akiyama?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Do you have he's kind of onto something. Do you have a smaller violin? Like, I know they're pretty small, but do you have like a really small one?
No, like you're talking about like a little.
Well,
tiny
like something that you could have one of your cornermen take, and if there's ever a bad decision and they interview your opponent, you got to play that shit in the middle.
Oh, they sit there and
actually play. That'd be awesome.
Dude, you know what? I can. I would have to practice a little bit and then get on it, but I think we're onto something. You know how awesome it would be? They just walk out with the violin. You have to have the Reebok logo on it, just so like everybody knows. Just like who brought this guy?
See, this is what the In Studio is about.
It is.
If we would have never known that.
If you were on the phone in your hotel and it's fight week, we'd be talking about the dumbest shit ever, the stuff that you don't want to talk about because you're hungry, because you got to make weight, about your opponent who you've been asked, so many different questions. So I'm glad we're catching you off season, meaning in between fights, and that we get you for 2 hours because we're finding out a lot here. And just I always plead ignorance, and I have no problem doing it. I'm 48 years old, so I grew up through an era where someone who played the violin in my neighborhood was a pussy, right? I would never tell him that. This is fucking Cuban Missile Crisis, for crying out loud. He'll stomp me out in seconds.
Call me cute.
No. Cuban Missile Crisis. So I'm sitting here, I'm going, what? The fucking violin? Like, we would have got laughed at. Like, there's no way. My dad signed me up. Pop Warner, right away. We're hitting and we're doing stuff. But our mom, we're brothers. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Not black guys. We're Latinos.
Yeah,
we're siblings.
We're siblings.
Yeah. No, but listen, our mom always wanted us to play something, so I did play the piano. So I was able to relate right away. But I remember as I played the piano, I remember just I probably listened to my friends and succumbed to peer pressure too much, and I shouldn't have. Looking back, so I admire that you learned an instrument even though you don't play it now. Yeah. And it's so cool that you have that about you, like that culture about you, and at the same time, your brother and the band that he does, and you being an MMA fighter, that edgy side, man, that's really, really cool. Not too many people can get away with that, because again, jackasses like me succumb to peer pressure. I wish I would have stuck with it. I still know a couple tunes, but on Christmas, on Thanksgiving, we'll go over to my mom's, and we'll be sitting there, and I have an uncle that's awesome at the piano, and we all just sit there and request songs, and he plays them. And
now he's charging a fee though this year.
It gets everyone in a good mood, you know. And
music definitely can change everything. If you're sad, if you're happy, if you're excited, if you want to party, it can literally alter the situation however you want it. So I think it's cool growing up knowing different musical instruments because it teaches you how to use a different side of your brain. Like the piano was something I thought was amazing growing up because you'd have to be able with one hand play certain notes, 4 or 5 notes on this side, and then play an opposite 4 or 5 notes and move your hand up and down, where you're using 2 different functions of your brain to create this masterpiece. Like listening to Beethoven or Bach or any of them, like when they touch that, you could sit there and be quiet and like get lost into their music.
Technically, you play the piano.
Time out for a second.
Go ahead.
What is Akiyama's song? I know it's a popular name.
It's Andrea Bocelli's.
Dun, dun,
what is it called?
I wanted to hit this, but I thought maybe you guys might know.
Andrea.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but I want to give it to Danny because I want Danny to play it as we talk about this.
As soon as you play it, I think he would recognize it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you type it in, Danny, into the system, it's got to be one of the first songs.
It's the most
What's
popular.
What's he going to type? Akiyama music? I mean, he's got to have an actual name.
If he types in Andrea Bocelli, it'll be one of the first ones that pops up.
Here, I'll pull it up on Spotify real quick.
Okay. So should I put the volume here?
Yeah. Oh, that ain't it. What a dork. I can't believe you played that.
Oh, no, I know what I'm doing. Hold on. I was doing the rankings earlier, and I had Morrissey's greatest hits. Okay, hang on a second. Here we go.
Actually, in Perfect Symphony.
Dan, you know what this is, right?
He don't know.
Well, I mean, like, it should be easy to find.
Can you hear it, Danny?
This is the song they used in
I know that.
At the very end.
Yeah. Where they're in the fight. Oh no, where are you singing it?
Yeah,
right?
we're singing it at the Catalina Wine Mixer.
There we go.
Fucking Catalina Wine Mixer.
It says time to say goodbye. That ain't time to say goodbye, right?
It has different names because there's actually the girl I think gets the credit for the song.
Does she?
Yeah.
Okay, how about this part?
Where were we going with this?
I just want to hear.
There you go.
All right, so continue, Julian. Let's talk about music for a while. To music.
Yeah, music. I mean, it changes everything. When I walk out, I don't walk out for anybody else. When I go fight, I don't fight for anybody else. You know, like even being on the Contender Series, everyone's like, "Oh, you have the possibility of fighting in front of Dana White, fighting, you know, for a contract and stuff." Well, it didn't matter to me because I'm not doing the sport for money. I'm not doing the sport for anybody else. I'm doing it because I love it. And that's what changes over time is people start fighting for other reasons and it changes their career path. So basically when I walk out, I pick music that makes me happy. In the moment of the most stressful time during my camp, the music that finds me and changes my mood. Like I've walked out, everyone knows this back in Kansas City, Missouri. They know I love Miley Cyrus. I'm in love with Miley Cyrus. And the song Wrecking Ball is one of my top favorite songs. I've never walked out to the same song twice except for Wrecking Ball. I walked out and I was at Scottish Rite Temple and I was fighting a guy named Troy DePriest. It was my amateur bout, my last one. And during that camp I had a lot of stuff go on and all it was listening to Wrecking Ball come in and just like how soothing her voice was, how calm it was, and how it changed me from being like sad, depressed, and like really agitated from how training was going to this guy that was like, "Hey, forget it, man. This is amazing." Like it put a smile on my face.
So Wrecking Ball is your center.
Yeah.
If you play that any time, it would
change. It would change everything. So I played it to this deal and I came out and I had a devastating knee where people actually started calling me a wrecking ball because, you know, I ended up taking down Troy with a leg kick. He fell. And then, there we go. And, you know, I spun off to the side, and I jumped up and threw a knee like a wrecking ball into his liver, and it took him out. So I won the fight. And then on the Contender Series, I had my headphones on when I was walking out, and I was actually listening to Wrecking Ball right before I went out. So when I took that off, it was just, my mind was already locked in. There was nothing that was going to take me out of that feeling.
So you said you have a crush on her.
Oh, I love her.
Okay.
I love her.
Is she aware?
She's amazing. I don't know. I have a crush on Taylor Swift too. I've been asking her out left and right.
If I make you a mini wrecking ball, will you just hold it in your hand like
Just
that?
go like this, yeah.
Hold that in front of your opponent.
Oh, dude, for real.
How far has it gotten? I mean, you have a check mark next to your Twitter name, right?
Dude, you know, like.
Is Taylor or Miley aware?
So it's, I don't know. Like, I'm not big enough to where I cause a dent in, you know, the Twitter sphere or in the world to where they can hear me. You know what I mean? So I just keep posting, and like little by little I'll do stuff, and then someday I might get an answer, I might get a date, I might get a cup of coffee, or she'll show up.
You're in Vegas, and I'm sure you know Uncle Dana a little bit, right?
I know Dana, but I'm not gonna ask him for a favor.
No, I know, but somehow on a tweet, if it can get to him and then he puts out the tweet.
I mean, you never know.
Do you remember the kid in Tennessee who was getting bullied?
Yeah,
well, that had been happening for a while, but then when Dana said, that's some bullshit, we're going to treat you out to some fights, it really picked up steam, you know what I mean?
It changed everything. If you actually look at like my Instagram and stuff, it's hilarious, but you know, the night that Frankie fought, what was that, 221?
223?
223, is that 223?
Frankie Edgar?
Yeah, when he fought
Ortega?
Yeah, when he fought Ortega here in Vegas. I actually showed up there, and I had created a
oh, I'm sorry, it was 222.
It was 222?
Not that mattered, but yeah.
Well, I cut out I made like this poster, and it had like, it looked like my Instagram, and I was live at the fights holding up, and it said, Taylor Swift, will you go out on a date with me? Hashtag be my end game, hashtag UFC, and like, and it was just funny. I mean, I thought it was hilarious, but
who do you like better then? Is it like, if you had your choice, Miley or Taylor?
I mean, I think they're both amazing.
We're gonna make this happen.
Let's make it happen.
But we need to know which route to go to.
I mean, I'm not really picky. I like them both. You know,
the breakup is pretty bad with Taylor. You become a song.
Yeah, but I've become history. You know,
it might be tougher too because she did like 3 days ago. Didn't somebody break into her apartment or something? She's had like stalker problems.
Oh,
you might want to go Miley.
So she might want a tough guy boyfriend.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, you never know.
But he's right. That breakup's brutal.
The breakup's brutal.
You think you got a violin?
Yeah,
see what she
I
can
play
out
it for
with.
myself.
Comes out with a bazooka.
Yeah, but regardless, she makes amazing music based upon her relationships, and that's what she's known for. And everybody like hates on her, but at the same time, like, we live in an era where relationships are not the same as they were back then. You know, and she's also growing. You know, she's what, 28, 29?
Which one?
You know? I think she was 88, right? That would be 29, going on 30.
Yeah.
Right?
But which one are we talking about? I don't even know who.
This is Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
she's not even 30?
No. Okay. She's young, so she's growing into like the same thing. Like in your 20s, you kind of find yourself and find who you want to be around and who you don't. Especially like the popularity that she's in right now. Like, you got to sit there and think like, what's real and what's fake. You know, who wants you for you, or who wants you for what you have to offer.
So let me play a little catch up here, because there's so many things going through my head.
Let's play.
He looks like Tom Segura a little bit, right?
Sort of.
With the beard.
Oh, should I bring a hat?
You know who Tom is, right?
Yeah.
Fuck, man. He has had me in tears the last few days. I've been playing a lot of his Netflix specials.
Oh, he's
and you
funny.
talk really calm like Tom does. So that's one. Two, how did a Marquez wind up in the Kansas City area, in the Midwest area? It sounds like, obviously, are you full Cuban?
I'm half.
Half Cuban?
I'm cut in half.
Yeah.
I'm a muggle.
I don't hear too many EZ ending type of last names in the Midwest. How did that happen?
So my family, they came from Cuba. And they actually moved to New Jersey, and it was my dad and my uncles, my grandma. My grandfather ended up staying in Cuba for a little bit longer and getting money to my grandma to get on her feet. And then he flew back over and started working for Ford. And as he started working for Ford, he took an offer to move to Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, to work at the Ford plant there. So that's what brought them to Missouri, was through Ford.
From New Jersey to St. Louis?
Yeah.
It's quite the expedition.
It is. New Jersey's just easier to go to instead of Miami. You know, Miami, everybody's on the lookout for Cubans, to be honest, coming over. I've had family members that got busted on the, like, one of our family members got busted 11 times, 12 times trying to come over on a
right
boat.
there on the sand. That's
yeah.
where the finish line is, right? Have you ever seen that when they're coming on the boats?
Yeah.
Once you hit it, you're good though, right?
Yeah,
Once you touch sand.
soil. Once you touch soil, I'll just dive down. I never thought I'd just swim all the way to the ground and grab the sand and hold it in your hand.
I don't know if it's technically that. I thought it's water receding from the sand, or
I didn't look into it.
if you ever have a chance, YouTube. I guess you would say maybe the easiest way is just say Cubans on Florida soil or beaches versus
it's called
Border
Wet
Patrol.
Foot, Dry Foot.
Oh yeah,
Wet
there's
Foot, Dry
actual
Foot.
documentary.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a documentary, but that's what they call it. Wet Foot, Dry Foot. Is it's like, I mean, stating that you're now a citizen. They can't throw you back.
Do you speak Spanish?
Yeah, I can speak Spanish.
All right. When someone surprises you, do you say "Ay coño"?
No, I just sit there and so I work at Top Golf and I still serve tables. So I'll get like a bunch of Hispanic people that come in and like they'll sit there and talk and I'm just listening there and I don't speak to them in Spanish because I think it's just funny because sooner or later I'm going to do something. They're going to say something to me and then I'll just turn to them and just start speaking in Spanish and then they look at you all like, you speak Spanish? I'm like, yeah.
Bust some Spanish out.
So yo puedo hablar español, pero yo estoy entrenando para hablar más mejor con Christian ahí en el UFC porque yo puedo hablar pero escribir y sabiendo que yo tengo decir está duro después duro cuando empezando que yo quiero decir eso está
muy bien.
Yeah.
What do you think?
If you would have told me 20 minutes into the show we would be here, I would have never guessed it.
We're all over the place, aren't we?
Well, you're in luck though, and this is sheer luck. Our caller here on line 1 is, until I met you, I thought he was the biggest Taylor Swift fan ever. He was posting something just the other day about tickets being on sale and how to get them cheaper.
Should we have a Taylor Swift off?
Well, or maybe he can help bridge that gap because he'll know more about that than us.
Dude.
Yeah, all right.
I don't want to battle anybody. We work together, you know? Like,
and may the best man win?
Here, this is what I'm pitching. This is what I think you need to do. Is I think you need to invite her to your next fight.
Trust me.
I think that would be great.
I've been trying. I tried to get her to I tried to send out a tweet to get her to come to UFC 225 in Chicago because that's like going to be an amazing card. And I mean, it's Chicago. Like,
you're not on it though, right?
No, I'm not. I'll be in July.
You'll fight in July?
Yeah. So.
The tough finale?
Yeah, tough finale. I'll be on.
Do we have an opponent? We might just
Alessio de Jericho.
What the fuck? I looked that up in the morning. I didn't see. Is that recent?
Yeah, they just announced it a couple days ago.
Okay.
But yeah. So.
Cool. I wish I would have known so I could give the editorial that, but I looked at it and that hadn't been public yet, or maybe I didn't look hard enough. I don't know.
It was just I mean, literally, I'm telling you, Saturday probably is when they announced it, right after the fights, or right before the fights.
Okay.
Actually, it was whenever the Tough aired, the TV show aired this week. It was right around there. So.
There was one more thing I was going to ask him. The Violin, Cubans in Missouri, Dave Segura. That was one other thing, but I should have written it down. I got to find my pen. Let's talk to Brandon in Louisville. What's up, Brandon? What's on your mind?
Guys, I had stuff to talk about, but I don't even care now. Julian, my man. Team Taylor, you're one of my guys now.
Oh, dude, I love it, man. We're together. You're jamming out to Taylor Swift right now?
Actually, I was jamming off Taylor Swift right before I called in. I had to stop it to listen to the show. I'll tell you, best concert I've ever been to. I was so pumped. Went a couple years ago. My nieces really got pissed off at me that I didn't take them. So I had to keep my word to them this year in June. She'll be back in Louisville. So I got 3 tickets for me and hopefully them. Plus their little brats. And then I got to find somebody else to go. You won't regret it. You got to see her, man.
I need to. So my problem is this. Like, I've worked so many jobs, but all my jobs I worked to afford to pay for my training. So like whenever somebody would come in, even though I'd really want to see them, I couldn't like look at it and be like, okay, I can spend, $100, $200 to go to this concert. I would be like, all right, that $100, $200 is worth enough for training camp fight purse. So like I was very conserved with my money, and I would only put it into my career, which sucked. And a lot of people at the dance studio I used to work at, these like kids, they got tickets to go to Miley Cyrus, and they actually donated the tickets to me because they knew I wouldn't buy it, and they knew I loved her. So I ended up going to see Miley Cyrus. That's one of the only, like, out of Taylor Swift and her, those are the only one I got to see. and I'm jealous of you right now because you got to go and you're going to a Taylor Swift concert.
She's in the middle of a huge stadium tour right now. She's doing nothing but football stadiums. Tickets are priced down a little bit if you want to go a little bit high. Like I mean, it's Louisville, so it's not a big market. But it was like a $60 ticket. They were running a deal where they're even waiving the Ticketmaster fees a couple days ago, so I got in on that. I mean, depending where you're moving around to, you might be able to catch her somewhere, you know, where it's cost efficient and worth it.
Yeah, no, for sure. She's on the Redemption tour right now.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, what's your favorite song on that album?
God, see, I got to go with lyrics because now I got to look at the album.
Some fan you are. You can't even name one song.
Hey, you know I can't level it down to one song, GG. So why don't you get off my
it's
back?
hard. I agree. I agree with you right now. It's hard to pick one song, but
I know. But when you're on radio and someone asks you, you just kind of go, you know, like if you told me Michael Jackson, if I go, beat it, but he can't even think of one.
You know, I think I'd go with Delicate.
Delicate, it's actually a very popular song. It's very slow. It's kind of like goes into that classical style where she's sitting there speaking to you and you can level with her thoughts. But
what's your favorite?
I mean, Endgame. I like that. That's why I used it as as like my hashtag on the.
I'm gonna test you though. Give me another song.
Give me another
other
song?
than Delicate and Endgame.
Other than Delicate on Redemption tour.
No, just any song.
Any. Oh, fuck. I mean, we got Move.
All right, you got it.
His answer led me to believe you were about to get fucked up.
Yeah.
It seemed like he had a lot.
When he said on the Redemption tour, I was like, oh shit,
the song we're doing, Bad Blood, is amazing too.
I like Busting Chops, and I thought for a second there you froze and couldn't remember names.
Oh, yeah, you can put people on blast now for sure. I mean, that's what I did with B-Dub, man. Like, I just put him on blast, and even though you like something so much, it's still hard to figure out.
Who's B-Dub?
Buffalo Wild Wings?
No, I call Brandon B-Dub.
Oh, he's already B-Dub. All right.
I just dubbed him.
Nice.
You've been dubbed.
All right, Brandon. So you got any MMA to talk about, or you want to just close with fucking?
No. You there?
Yeah.
I got some MMA.
NSYNC, anything? Did we cover it all?
No, I got some MMA.
Hanson? You want to talk about them? All right, go ahead.
You gonna let me talk?
Yes.
So Leslie Smith, motherfucker. The Leslie Smith UFC thing. So I got a question for you. First of all, I've got no problem with what Leslie Smith did, not taking the fight with Aspen Ladd. I think it's smart. I wish more fighters would do it. If your opponent doesn't make weight, you know what? That's your choice, but you shouldn't have to be into taking that fight. Your opponent fucked up, not you. Second, I've got no problem with the UFC deciding, you know what, let's pay you your full term of your contract. That's your last fight. Your contract is now done. I think they were done with the Leslie Smith business. They wanted out of that. Now, I'm hearing a lot of, well, that's retaliation because now they're not going to re-sign her, and that's just because of her trying to organize and all that. My question is, with the retaliation, why is it retaliation when the UFC decides they don't want to be in business with somebody, but it's not retaliation on a fighter's part when they say, you know what, I'm kind of tired of the UFC shit, I'm going to go sign with Bellator. Isn't it the same thing? Aren't you deciding, hey, you know what, they didn't break any terms of the contract. They fulfilled the contract to the T. They're just done with dealing with that person. It's kind of a two-way street, right?
You want to go first? Or?
I mean, I kind of see where you're going at, but I just don't know how many people you would be able to convince of that. I mean, we just live in a different day and era now where I think everybody, there's the truth and then there's what people like to build up on, and that sometimes people just don't. I think the problem is a lot of fans don't look at it from the business perspective. UFC is a business. They're about making money. And people don't look at it that. They look at it from the fan standpoint. And from a fan standpoint, you're going to take the side of the fighter every time and all their things. So I get what you're saying, Brandon, but I just don't think a lot of people will see it that way.
And I think the UFC, it's kind of like I invited you to my house to play, you know? And so there's a lot of leverage on their side. There's a lot of precedence on their side. Like she was trying to change, apparently, the per diem. You get 5 days. Yeah. And she was trying to add Sunday. And I think there's a way to go about it, you know, and that's something that you would do if they ever unify and create an association or a union, but at that particular moment, and so outspoken. Like I've said it before, man, this goes for almost every fighter. They don't need you, all right? Collectively, you have a leg to stand on. But personally, one-on-one, you have to just determine how much that movement means to you. And if it means to you, we respect you. Good luck. But it's just not going to go well, as we've seen in the past. And so there's a couple things here to unpack about that. You know, she did the interview the other day on our show, and I know she's done a few since then. And the one thing I finally figured out what the heck she was talking about was she said they paid me $62,000, my win in my show, and I still wanted to fight, but I didn't want to fight for free. So she felt like that money was already hers, and now if I go fight, I'd be fighting for free. And when I saw that, I started thinking, I'm not so sure that someone doesn't need to tell her, hey, we need to sit down and we need to show you what business is. Business is, yeah, they paid you because they felt like that was the end of the contract. You didn't have to fight. But if you did want to go back and fight, well, guess what? That's what the $62,000 was for. And you know what? It wouldn't have been the end of the world for her to fight because it didn't matter if she won or lost. She already pocketed the other $31,000. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so think about, in good faith, if she would have won and beat Aspen Ladd, she got what she was getting anyway. So now you can almost go out there and fight reckless. How many times have we heard a fighter say, hey, I don't like winning show, just pay me everything up front and watch me get down, you know? So she would have been able to go out there and perform to the highest of her ability. Aspen's undefeated, if I'm not mistaken, so that would have been a nice skin on her wall. And even though I've often said this is something that I was told a long time ago, you can't get cut coming off a win, because she was in the free agency status, they just may not have been able to re-sign her. And as we can tell, probably looks like the UFC wouldn't have, but think about the pressure she would have had and think about some of the leverage she would have had right then and there. It may have assisted her, you know what I'm saying? So I think at that moment, I think she overthought it and it blew up in her face. But it all starts with what she was saying about she would have been fighting for free. That and the whole per diem, like the UFC could look at it as, hey, the minute your fight's over, we just handed you a check and you have a flight to get home and you can check out of your room at noon the next day, but that's it. We kind of part ways. So her explanation about that per diem, that's something that would have to be negotiated through a union or through an association going forward. You know, and so I don't know, man. I don't know that those interviews helped her out, because I think people want to get behind a leader and someone who has incredible like foresight, you know. And I mean, I don't know. I wish her the best of luck. I really do. And I know some fighters that are already, you know, with her, aligned with her, but I don't know, man. I don't know that it's going to go too well for her, and hopefully she lands back on her feet. You know, she was 2-0 as a bantamweight. Sorry, 3-0 as a bantamweight. Wait a minute. What I'm saying is she had a 2-fight win streak, but really a 3-fight win streak, because if you toss out the Cyborg fight, that was a featherweight. She actually had the credentials to be saying, like, hey, I should be in a contender fight. If she would have beaten Aspen, that would have been 4, so she would have had more leverage there, man. I feel bad for her. But, Brandon, I don't know if that's the answer you were seeking, but thank you very much for the call. And thanks for all this Taylor Swift talk. We got to go to break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and I definitely want to get Julian's thoughts on it.
Why don't you say, 'cause you know what we could do, baby. We could get hazy, hand in hand.
compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Here we go. Hear every pick of the NFL Draft on NFL Radio Channel 88. Coverage kicks off tomorrow morning at 11 Eastern as you join Bruce Murray and Phil Savage broadcast live from NFL's Play Football event in Dallas. Talking to all the top prospects the day before they're selected, only on SiriusXM, NFL Radio Channel 88. You ever check that out, Gus?
Sometimes.
Channel 88?
Yeah.
It's solid, man. Especially around this time with everything coming up. What do you guys need the most, the Washington Redskins, other than everything?
Corner.
Corner?
I think so.
Do you have a favorite NFL team?
Steelers.
Steelers?
Even though I'm from Kansas City, I support the Kansas City Chiefs all day, every day. But the Steelers, I grew up in a Steelers household. And
they're going to eventually need a quarterback. Big Ben entertained retiring last year after that poor start, and then next thing you know, he was right back where he belongs in the playoffs. You know,
the thing is Ben, man, he's a savage. He has everyone on the line for like receivers and everything. I mean, he finds Antonio Brown. You have Martavis Bryant still catching this. You have Le'Veon Bell, who's just
a
he's
monster.
Just good.
Man.
Oh man, he's
Such
insane with his foot movement and his work. These guys, Juju Smith, was it Schuster?
Yeah, he's from USC,
yeah.
Trojans.
Dude, that kid is amazing. So he has a great, receiving end. The thing is that he needs just a couple more seconds on that O-line. So they just need to find someone that can build up that O-line, and I think they'll be great. Because the thing, Ben used to be able to move. His agility was great, and he was able to move out of the pocket. I mean, when they won the Super Bowl where he ended up getting the tackle, I forgot, who did they go in the playoffs where if he didn't get the tackle when Jerome Bettis was there, he didn't get the tackle, they would have lost. I can't think of the name, but he was able to move a lot easier. Now that he's a little bit older, it's still harder for him to move as a big guy. Mm-hmm. So he just needs a little bit more support on the front end. And they're not doing bad. They just sometimes they're not doing what they need to get done, and it's hard for him to move out of the way. If they can find a support where it blocks him from getting touched, his arm's still there. His knowledge is still there, and I think he can. I think if they fix that, I think next year they'll take the Super Bowl. I mean, straight up.
49ers, we got ourselves our quarterback. We kind of got ourselves a running back out of Minnesota, even though we lost Carlos Hyde. I guess
is that your quarterback though? Like,
yeah, he's good.
Isn't he just like kind of the best case scenario for now? But is he really like the guy?
I think we got our guy. If New England vetted him and he played well for them and they speak highly of him, and then he comes over to us and did what he did, and plus Kyle Shanahan, he knows his way around an offense, especially a quarterback. So I just got to trust. All right. But you know what we really need the most, the 49ers? You know when most people go to a job and they go, man, the resume kicks ass. You did great in the interview. We just got to do one last thing, and that's do that little background check on you. Just make sure, we need a new person for that one specific job that just types in and goes, is this the next Unabomber or the next, multiple murder, whatever. Because we just keep drafting guys that get into fucking trouble.
Yeah,
and
it's like the new Raiders.
It sucks, man, because we've had some really, really good athletes, and they're just getting themselves in so much trouble. Anything from marijuana possession, and I mean, I'm talking about not just like enough to party for that day, but like I'm the neighborhood guy or something. Domestic violence, assault charges, weapons, in the car, like all kinds of stuff, man. And it's cost us because we really could have had like at least a solid enough defense that could have carried us as Kaepernick was starting to fizzle. Mm-hmm. But instead, they got in trouble. So now the defense sucked. The offense was fizzling. It's the whole culture of the whole locker room, too. You know what I mean? You got a couple bad seeds, and that's it, man. Like, because the good guys start wondering, well, hey, what are you going to do about the bad guys? And the coaches are like, well, we invested so much in the bad guys. We got to give them time, and hopefully they turn around. And, man, that's a whole other topic. And this isn't NFL radio, but still, tune in to NFL radio. You'll like it. We got to get to some more calls, and this is Julian Marquez from the UFC. He fights in the middleweight division. Surprised us by telling us he's got a fight coming up on July 6th. Tell him against who goes.
He has a fight on July 6th against. Tell him, Julian.
What? How did you pronounce his name? DeVecchio?
Alessio
DeVecchio?
Jericho.
Who the fuck's that guy?
He's Italian. You remember on?
I've probably seen him. We've seen so much.
He got the knockout.
We gotta remember one and PFL. Oh yeah.
He hit the knee.
That's all you had to
just
say.
Folded him over.
Okay.
Yeah.
You excited about that matchup?
Oh man, I'm super stoked. Yeah, I think he's a great warrior, and I think we're gonna have a fun showing for sure. Especially being on that card. You know, we have a lot of great people on there. My teammate, Roxanne Modafaris, is on there.
She just signed on to fight Barb Honchak, right?
Yeah, man. It's like, and they fought once before, way back when. So like, this is kind of like the.
Roxanne's tough, man. She almost won that world title.
She did, and you know what's crazy is most people don't give her credit. She wasn't training for a world title. She was training for a 3-round fight.
You're right.
And she went 5. The other person was, you know, not taking away from who was it that won? Nico
Montana.
No, she won, but she was training for a 5-round fight the whole time. What would have happened if they both were training? What would have happened there? You know, if they both had the energy to go, because they put on a show.
They built their stock though. Even in the loss, it built their stock a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Let's talk to Gage from Fort Myers, Florida. What's up, Gage? How you doing?
Yo, what's going on, guys? Real good. How about yourself?
Good, man. Thank you.
That's good. After the fights this weekend, I noticed everybody's calling out Khabib now. You got Lee, you got Alvarez, you got Poirier. In my personal opinion, I think Poirier deserves it a little bit more, at least for the title shot now. And then meanwhile of that, how about you put Alvarez up against Kevin Lee, and then whoever wins that gets the winner of Poirier-Khabib. How's that guy sound to you?
That's not bad, all right? Usually I don't like contenders knocking each other off, but you're going to have Ferguson return at some point.
They may not have a choice.
And Ferguson is going to be like, hey, you know, he's got that quarter on the video game, on the arcade game, because he used to be the interim champ, and he's 13-1 as a lightweight. And Ferguson's sweating because if there's another quarter that's on there and it's before him, it's the return of Conor McGregor whenever he decides to return, just because we know how much the UFC loves them some Conor McGregor. So usually you'll hear me talk when they talk about other divisions and they go, hey, how about these two? I'm like, oh, do we want them knocking each other off? Because we want to have at least 2-3 fighters, one right after the other, awaiting the champion. You don't ever want the champion in a position where, like, well, now what? You know, and next thing you know, they want money fights and catchweight fights and all this stuff, and the division loses traction. So I would sign up for that one, believe it or not. How about you?
I think it makes sense because these guys are going to have to start picking each other off. What people don't realize, having to take off Ramadan, really when you add in the months before and after, it takes a lot of the time of a year for a fighter to compete. And he's talking coming back later this year. So let's just say he does get that fight. We have to pray he comes out 100%.
So he can fight in either
he's got to get another one in.
March or April. Because if there's any form of an injury and now it's past Ramadan, you know, you're looking at, once again, past August or September. That's why I'm saying, Khabib, much respect to you, man, but you said you would restore order to this division because the division didn't have a title defense in about 18 months. Well, guess what? You came out of that healthy, as far as I know. You need to fight sometime in August or September, man. November, it would be nice, but come on, brother. Like, you know, what do you think, Julian?
You have to give him respect, though. Ramadan, you don't eat during the light. You know what I mean? So you train.
Oh no, I'm working around Ramadan.
Yeah, but it makes it. But you got to sit there and think. That's for how long? How many weeks?
1 month. It's about 1
month.
One month.
So 1 month of your life, you're not eating until the light goes out, until the sun's gone. So you're gonna have to tell me you're gonna train hard when most people are awake. You can't really train at like overnight. So he's working out and not eating anything at all. Like that 1 month is gonna totally mess up your body. So let's give him 2 months. Let's say, you know, all of July and then all of August. But then...
Well, all of June, because it ends early June.
And I thought it was
I can look it up.
July.
I can look it up.
But you need time to get back to normal again.
You need time to get back
training.
to normal, because it's an entire month. Have you ever dieted to the point where...
Does it look like it?
No, it's like when you diet, like your body takes a little bit to adjust to the new foods and the times that you eat.
May 15th to June 14th.
May 15th to June 14th.
So let's say we give him to what, August 14th?
So he gets August, but he has to start. Say you give him another month, so July. So when you're fighting for a title, do you think he should fight right like that, or should he get the proper time to train for an impressive fight?
I suppose, man, but here's the thing. Okay, let me counter. And again, I don't want fucking those guys chasing me down, that's for sure, because they see the way they roll, like 20 deep. But let me say this. Hakeem Olajuwon used to observe Ramadan. All right, and he would ball in the playoffs. And what do they say about NBA athletes? The finest athletes on the planet, and the stuff they have to do. He actually would. The Houston Rockets were always in the playoffs, and they were always going deep. They won world titles, and he was actually able to perform during Ramadan. So it's not like athletic competition has never taken place.
But it's different.
I know it's different.
It's different.
But Muhammad does it.
Does he?
Didn't he? Wasn't he in studio and he said that he does actually train during Ramadan?
Yeah. So I observe.
Oh, they do. My roommate does Ramadan as well, and he trains during it, but he won't take a fight during that period because of his body and how it changes. And you got to remember, when you're tired after a practice and you get beat up, you're not going home to go eat. You're going home to sit there and figure out a way to last until the sun goes out, and then you eat all you can. So you're telling me you're going to go work out during that time, and then say the sun goes down at 7 o'clock here and then rises at 6, and you have to go to bed at 10, 11,
Well, what do you
12?
tell the other 100 lightweights that are trying to become a world champion, though?
Well, when it's your religious preference, I mean, you can't really say anything about what he's doing.
No, I'm talking about the UFC side of things.
The UFC side of things?
So let's play what you said. Let's give him to July 14th. All right? And then after that, let's be polite and say, can you fight September 14th?
Give him 3 months. Give him 3 months to train for a title fight. 4 months to train
4
for
months.
It's a title. This is your baby. This is what he's worked so hard for so long. You're wanting him to churn over and fight and fight and fight.
Roxanne almost won, and she had what? Like you said, she barely got tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, can you go for 3 rounds to 5 rounds? This is a business.
It is a business.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to do it, all right? But that division, I mean, what do you tell Kevin Lee and Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez? Like, if one guy's only going to fight once, maybe twice a year, and we got to pray that Khabib, who has been hurt in the past, doesn't get hurt.
It's very true. It's a tough situation, but you also look at like Tyron Woodley. Do you remember whenever he was a contender and he waited until it was his spot to go out there and fight, and then look at him now. He has the belt, and then look at Frankie Edgar now. You have Frankie Edgar in the same situation where he just beat Cub Swanson and put himself back up there, and you're gonna put him against Jeremy Stevens, who's behind by 1 ranking. Or are you going to put him against the winner of the Ortega and Holloway fight?
I think he should fight Moicano.
Who?
Moicano.
Frankie?
Yeah.
I don't think he should. I think he should wait.
You know what I think is going to happen?
All right.
I think the UFC is on your side. I think they're going to say, look, we understand, but here's the deal. If we do give you this time, you better injury-free. You better be on time for the next ones, all that. I think the second that happens, where he does get hurt,
but I don't think
or
the
he
UFC
misses
needs
weight
to do that.
or something like that,
but I
think
the
they
UFC
will.
needs to say, okay, we're not going to schedule you during Ramadan, but we're going to schedule you a few months
fight
after
twice
Ramadan.
a year. I don't think he has to fight 3 times. That's just a new culture. The champions don't do that anymore. They used to, but I don't think they do.
Thank you, Gage, for the call. Hopefully we answered your question. We got to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. Julian Marquez in studio.
Man, it sucks. We're just like cutting them off. We don't even give them one question.
Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
Start your day with SiriusXM. Enable the SiriusXM skill on your Amazon device. Then tell Alexa to set an alarm for your favorite channel. Danny, don't let that song die out. I like it. And you'll wake up to the sounds of SiriusXM. With SiriusXM and Alexa, you can get the latest sports news each morning without picking up your phone or turning on the TV. I just decided that we need to give Marco a little bit more time, so we'll start him off at the top of the hour. But let me just say, man, ZZ Top, they have an 8-day residency here in Vegas. You like ZZ Top?
Oh, yeah.
They're here at the Venetian for 8 straight days. And I had been saying, man, the next time they're in town, I'm going.
They played here not too long ago.
At the House of Blues?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Really?
Within the last year.
Wow. And, man, I don't know if I can pull it off. People are putting pressure on this Chicago trip. Are you going?
I'd like to.
Are you at least 5% maybe?
Oh, no, I'm like 35%.
Sounds like a good time, man, for UFC 225 in June.
The problem with me is I can get a really cheap flight out there, but it would mean that I would have to leave like for 3 days. If I did 1 day, the flight goes up, but now I don't need a hotel. So it's like...
And I like staying at the Fighter Hotel. That's the problem.
You do?
I do. I really do. Because while I'm out there, I have to do a little bit of networking and stuff. So, you know, but Chicago's expensive.
I just want to do a deep dish and the fights.
Well, they're talking about the Cubs are in town. I've always wanted to see Wrigley Field.
Before, yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see them.
Cool.
But ZZ Top, man, yeah, they're in town. If you're a ZZ Top fan, they're here like for the next 3-4 days at the Venetian. And I think we got to cut out. So we'll be right back. Hey, we had him on the show, right?
I don't know if we ever had him on the show.
He fought for Titan.
Rings the bell.
He has the worst bedhead of all time, McNulty.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever heard? Have you heard that Nick Newell's in town?
Yeah.
A lot of people are speculating he might sign with the UFC.
I hope. What a sav.
He's got a really, really great record. He got some really good wins. So I support it. I always said if it happened, I'd support it. I just felt like I knew the way the UFC attacks these free agent signings, and after a 2-year layoff, I wasn't sure that they'd get him right then and there. You know, because the opponent that he beat didn't have the best record. It was okay. So I felt like they may ask for one more win, but hey, God bless him if he can get it, because I thought he deserved it like 2-3 years ago when he was on a roll before he ran into Gaethje. My ear keeps going out, but all right, let's attempt this here. Let's talk to Marco and Waco, then we got to do our daily debate. So Marco from Waco, what's on your mind?
Hey, Marco from Waco, ¿qué pasa, vatos? And Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis, with your close cousin Joel Romero, the Cuban Muscle Crisis. Hey, a big old shout out to Showtime from Tennessee, man. He was here in Waco doing one of his, trucking runs. I opened my doors to him. We got some dinner, some beer, watch some basketball, shoot the shit for 4 hours, and then, of course, he had to take off. So, shout out to Showtime.
Yeah, I saw
part
that.
Of MMA
I saw that, man. Remember I was telling you our listeners, we call them Junkie Nation?
Yeah.
These guys are really, really cool to each other. We've had what's called Junkie Gatherings, and a lot of them have met. A lot of them just listen to each other on the show. But we have one guy, he's a truck driver. His name's Showtime. He's from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I noticed on Facebook he was in Waco, Texas, hanging out with Marco. So that was real cool that you guys got together.
Hey, so this weekend we get Frank Mir versus Fedor Emelianenko. No, he's not the best heavyweight ever. I am concerned that the ratings for Bellator have been kind of lagging the last couple of events, dude. And I had not seen any promotion for this fight, dude. I mean, it's Frank Mir versus Fedor, and I don't see them pushing it with you guys. I don't see them pushing it with Luke Thomas. I don't see them pushing it on ESPN. It's supposed to be a big fight. These ratings are lagging. I'm starting to get worried about Bellator. I'm not the biggest Bellator fan, but I recognize we need to have a strong number 2 promotion there. Bellator, what the fuck are you doing except promoting this fight? Peace out.
All right, see you, Marco.
I think the one thing that keeps getting overlooked is the fact that it's a Saturday card. And you're used to having Bellator on Friday. So I'm wondering how many people are just going to miss it and forget.
You know, I think it's something about that switch to Paramount. Paramount is just different from Spike. Spike was like, here you go, guys. Here's fights and chicks and, brawls and whatever. Something that dudes sit around and they're in their dorms and they're just eating cold pizza, and that's the kind of stuff that they would be into. And I've watched a little bit of Paramount, and I think there's a push to the demographic, the females, and so I hear what Marco's saying. Sometimes you don't see that push that you used to see in years past. So I don't know what's going to happen. Viacom owns Bellator, so if it's not that channel, is it going to be on a new channel? I don't know, but I hear what Marco's saying. That had to be a big red flag that came up when Michael Chandler, one of their biggest stars, their ratings only came in at somewhere around the 200 to 300,000 range. That just wasn't a number that was acceptable in the past. I don't think it's acceptable now. So we'll see what happens. And those salaries, they're paying them out. There's some big name. I mean, Fedor's probably getting paid pretty good, and so is Frank Mir. All right, speaking of Fedor Emelianenko, that leads right into our daily debate for today. You want to participate, Julian? You in?
Yeah.
All right, he's our co-host. He says he's in. Here's the question for today, brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio crew and UFC middleweight Julian Marquez. If the sport ended today, who should be considered MMA's greatest heavyweight of all time? Fedor Emelianenko, Stipe Miocic, or other? Other can be Cain Velasquez, Fabricio Verdum, or anybody else that you felt was the greatest heavyweight athlete of all time, aside from these two that I just named. You go first.
For me, it's got to be Stipe Miocic. I love Fedor Emelianenko. I grew up watching the guy, and he did do some pretty crazy things. However, I think the one thing that maybe hurts him is just the time period that he did it. And it's not to his fault. It's just the monsters that are around today, that's not what he had to face, right? He faced some pretty tough guys, but he didn't have to do it continuously the way Stipe Miocic has had to do it. So I'm going to go with Stipe. However, I don't know that story is finished, because a monster by the name of Cain Velasquez is coming back, and he's not that far from amounting a couple wins, and he would be that guy as well. So for now, I'll give it to Stipe.
Julian?
Man, see, that's tough. I love Stipe. This guy he's an animal. He's different at the heavyweight division. There's something unique about him, and he's taken out some of the big names. But Fedor Emelianenko, you have to remember that, like, back in the day, he fought all these guys with pride rules, with all this crazy style, and he's fought a little bit more. But that's a name that's always stuck around. That's why Bellator can bring him back and bring that name back, because it can target a lot of viewers and a lot of people. You know, again, Fedor being in the era that he was, he's not as popular now because Stipe, the UFC has him blown up and everybody likes him, and everybody that's new into like UFC or MMA, that's the only heavyweight they really know. Because Bellator, like, most people can't even name who's the heavyweight champion.
They don't have one.
You know, exactly. So you don't have anybody else. The heavyweight champion you know right now of the world is, you know, Stipe.
Yeah.
So I think Stipe's on the right track. But if it ended today, I'd have to go with Fedor, just because of, you know, growing up, seeing what he did to these animals back then. You know, especially these animals that were on performance-enhancing drugs, and they knew it. And allegedly. But yeah, it's a tough one. But I think Stipe can be that person in a couple more fights. But I go with Fedor right now.
You know, I think it's Stipe, honestly, and that's not by much. These are great guys we're talking about. Even if we threw in Cain Velasquez and Verdum, and don't forget, Verdum's got a finish over Fedor and a finish over Cain, but he just recently lost a fight. And if you look at his record, he lost a lot of other fights. I think Fedor, basically, to me, was a two-horse race. Especially with Cain and the fact that Cain had a lot of rematches and he's had a lot of injuries. You know, so I like that we made it a two-horse race here with Fedor and Stipe. Let me just say this. Fedor had the greatest heavyweight title run ever.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he had years of just being regarded as #1 by any media guy, any fan, and even fellow fighters. And then, of course, he ran into, you know, a bad losing streak there with Dan and Antonio and Verdum. And it all ended, you know, but and so that raised questions over the Pride run. But, I mean, the Pride run was what it was. But right now, man, you look at what Stipe's done in the last few years. He's only got the 2 losses. He avenged one of them in Junior Dos Santos. But that incredible year he had in 2016, Arlovski, Verdum, Alistair Overeem, all first-round knockouts. And then avenging the loss to Junior Dos Santos, winning the title in a stadium when he was the foreigner. You know, that was Fabricio Verdum's showcase fight, knocked him out. And then defending against a guy everyone thought was going to dethrone him in Francis Ngannou. I think he's done enough. He gets my vote.
That's the key word, is defending. At that weight class, a lot of people are going to win that belt. It's going to switch around. So now it's going to come down to who defended it the most.
Agreed.
What are those results,
folks?
George?
The results of the poll for today is 56% go with Stipe Miocic, 34% go with Fedor Emelianenko, and 10% said other. So there you have it, folks. That is today's Daily Debate, brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio crew and UFC middleweight Julian Marquez. All right, let's continue here with the show. We have just a couple more minutes before we take another break. We added a guest, another guest for today's show. It's going to be Merab Dvalishvili. I had it. I got to say it now. I'm a jerk. Dvalishvili. I practiced it. I went to Google Translate. That's a nice find, by the way. He'll be a guest of ours in a few minutes. Just to finish out Khabib and what we were talking about. We gotta cut off with Gage's question. I just feel like, Julian, I'm going to respect the religious holiday, and I respect that he may not be like Hakeem where he wants to train. Yeah. He just wants to be religious, an observant Muslim during that time. Okay, but coming out of that, you know, that's just the way the sport is. This is a business and this is a sport, and he has a title to defend, and that's why I'd like to move him up to possibly September. November would be nice, but that's something you earn over time. That's something Conor can demand. Yeah. This would be his first title defense. And again, with so many athletes that are going out there and just wrecking their bodies, and they need to fight for a title shot at some point. And so I think the pressure's on. I think Khabib has to move up that timeline, and so does the UFC. That way he can fight again maybe in February, and if he can squeeze one more in May, great. And if not, I understand. But
this is
I
the
think
question right there that brings us. This is what I see. I mean, I agree with you in a certain sense, but at the same time, how many times should a fighter fight in 1 year?
I believe 2.5. Here's how I'm gonna explain it
for a champion, not just the champion.
I think the new number is 2.
It's supposed. Yeah, it's probably 2.
It's 2.
I liked 5 in 2 years. That's why I say 2.5 because I thought there was gonna be times where you fight January, July, December. That's 3 times. But if you fight in December, then the next year you're not going to obviously do January again. So the next year would be like April and September. But then you go back to January, July, December. I always like 5 fights in 2.5 years. Now, I know things slow down when you make more money and you have longer camps and you have 5-round fights and you have damage. So, yeah, I'm okay with it. I think 2 is a good number.
So, 2. So, he just fought in April. So, he still has another 12 months to fight another time. And that would be his second fight within 1 year, correct? Because when did he fight Edson Barbosa?
Last November.
Last November. So it's been November, and then now was it November?
It was.
Yeah. So
November.
November.
It was in New York.
And then now it's now he just fought for the belt here just recently. So he's fought already twice, and you want him to get another fight in before that. This would be his 3rd fight if he fought in November. That would be his 3rd fight within the year. So technically he just fought 2. So if he wants to do it in November, that's fair enough. You can't ask him to just keep producing and fighting, you know.
Here's the other thing, guys. Like, this is the opinion, I think, of maybe you could say media, but also as fans. If I'm his manager, I am not telling him to fight 3 times. I'm saying, see all these monsters? Let them pick themselves off a little bit. Let us get some rest, get better, be healthy. And if those guys can fight each other off and knock a few of them off, then good. We'll come in and pick up them scraps.
Yeah,
we'll get our 2 fights. We'll make our statement every year. But I wouldn't know if we go above and beyond to fight every single one.
Well, I suppose I just touche'd myself if I say I'm okay with 2 times a year, and he did fight earlier this year, and he wants to fight in November. But what I'm saying is September is still this year too, and if he fights in September, then maybe he opens himself up to fight in January or February.
He could fight in October. I
just feel like the whole claim about like, hey, this is what I'm going to do when I want to do it. Like, come on, man, we're not even at your first title defense, and if we start giving the athletes too much of that, then I'm telling you, these guys are going to reach to the point where they fight only once a year. And I have proof that a lot of champions in the last few years, they've only been fighting once a year. You can't do that in the UFC.
No, you can't. You can't. And I understand that. But I just feel like, I mean, it would be great for Khabib to do this. But at the same time, you want to, as a champion, these people, they want to fight. It's hard to come by fighters like back in the day where they're fighting left and right, and just keep on producing like that. So Khabib, he just won the title. Don't you think he should, like, you know, at least rest up?
That's kind of what we did for Conor, though. Conor won and goes, I'm going to have a kid. Next thing you know, him and Floyd. Next thing you know, I might fight in December to stack my money so that I look good on Forbes. December came and went. Next thing you know, hey, I'll fight in the spring. That came and went. And in the meantime, all these other guys are battling out there, and they deserve a shot at the title too. So Khabib said he was going to restore. You know, he was going to restore the lightweight division and have title defenses, so I'm kind of holding him to it.
So, you know, and I think it would be good. So how about let's have the next 2 contenders fight off to see, okay, who's going to get the shot. The next 2 contenders, whoever it may be, they win, and then 3 months after that fight, that's whenever the title fight should be.
I could live with it. It's not like September, November that far apart. So I'm just kind of forecasting and making sure that we don't get caught in a pickle where next thing you know, we have to wait. We only have a guy defending once a year. I sorry to cut you off. We have to go to a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close, and we'll be right back with Merab Dvalishvili.
Tell your boss to reschedule that meeting. Call your wife and tell her lunch is off. It's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes.
It's NFL Draft Week on Fantasy Sports Radio, and preparation for your fantasy football season begins now. Hear the top fantasy football experts analyze the rookies and tell you which players you need to have on your fantasy football team this year. And don't miss live coverage of the NFL Draft from the fantasy football perspective on Series 210, XM87, and on the Series 6M app. That same Series 6M app houses the MMA Junkie Radio Show commercial-free and in HD quality. Danny, I tried Merab, and he just texted me back yes, which didn't really answer my question, so please try him again. But I think he's aware of you calling him now.
Back to our little conversation about Stipe. I think what will like signify him to be the greatest is after July 7th.
That'd be a good one.
I think that.
And how about this? Go ahead, finish.
Because the only guy to ever really beat DC was John Jones, and we consider him one of the greatest.
Right.
And DC is a heavyweight. He fights 205, struggles to cut and make weight. Now he fights heavyweight. Like,
what if DC beats Cormier? Could that erase the Jones loss and make him the greatest ever?
I mean,
yeah. I think
I would go with it.
I think there's an argument for it.
There is. I mean, DC can go down as the greatest heavyweight, light heavyweight and heavyweight, because yes, he did lose to Jones, but at the same time, like, it's performance enhancing. Like, did all these like athletes, these baseball players that were taking performance enhancement, would they have gotten those, home runs if they weren't on it? You know what I mean? Like, so it's battling on that. So DC and Stipe, when they battle, the winner of that will go down as like the greatest because of their caliber and their background.
When people talk about performance-enhancing drugs and what it does for the fighter, sometimes I think they miss the point, because there'll be some fights where a guy can test positive and submit his opponent, and people will say, well, did it really help him in the fight? But it's not so much the fight, too. It's like, how about when you come home tired from practice, right, and you're just exhausted, you got nothing left. If taking that made that fighter feel like, I can go back to the gym, it's an advantage, right? Versus the guy that didn't.
Or recovery from injury.
Yeah, recovery. Like, there's so much that goes into it mentally, right? Like, I mean,
well, sit there and think about it like this. And this is what I love. Like, you want to put something out there for people to understand. Look at Daniel Cormier when he fought Anthony Johnson the second time. If he was on performance enhancement drugs, his energy level and output, he would have showed up that day. But neither one of them, like, technically, it was a rough fight to watch as a fan, because Anthony Johnson wasn't in it, and neither was DC. They both were struggling. But if they were on performance enhancement, their body would be fresh and ready to go. Where the weight cut got to him, you could see it in the fight. You could see him versus previous fights, whenever his body was mentally prepared for it. When he fought John Jones, he was a different fighter that night than when he fought Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Yeah.
So performance enhancement, that's what people need to, like, see, that it's a good recharge.
No doubt, my man. All right, let's talk to our surprise guest of the day. Thanks to Steven the Magnificent Morocco for lining this one up. His name is Merab Dvalishvili. He is coming off a loss to Ricky Simon at UFC Fight Night 128. Now, this is where the controversy is. You look at the judges' scorecards. If this fight is allowed to end like the way we viewed it this past Saturday, Merab would have gotten the win because he was ahead on the judges' scorecard. However, when we came back from the commercial, we were told the announcement of a technical a TKO loss on behalf of Simon, which I believe is going to go down now as a technical submission. But that therein is the controversy. Did he go out? Did he not go out? Let's hear it from the other party, Merab Dvalishvili. Hello, Merab. How you doing? Hello, Merab. How are you?
Hey, how are you? Good. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Can you pronounce your last name for us, please? I've been butchering it. I apologize.
Yes. Sure. Dvalishvili.
Dvalishvili. That's easy.
Dvalishvili.
Why am I struggling?
Yes.
I'm a big dummy. Sorry about that. Dvalishvili.
No,
okay.
you're good.
All right, Merab.
Even first time you said yes.
So a few days have gone by. I know you're disappointed, but I know you've probably had a chance to probably hear the sides from the other fighter, Ricky Simon, the a lot of the referees that are involved in our sport have also given their opinions. And now, have you had a chance to look at the replay, and how do you view the result of the fight being called a technical submission loss? It's now on your record.
Yes, man. I'm still in shock. I'm shocked. It's unbelievable what happened. I win fight. Everyone thinks I win fight. Everyone but I don't know why judges called like this, and it's unbelievable. I was winning 3 rounds. I was control fight, and when 1 minute left, I tried to take him down and stay on top, finish on top. But when I take him down, I hit my head at the floor, and I was a little, something weird. I feel something not right, but I was fine. I have focus only for the time. I waited for time. I try to breathe. I try to stay on. I show repairing my legs. I was moving my legs. I was showing the hands also. My eyes open whole time. I was in. I never stopped, and I was keep fighting. Keep show everyone to I'm in. I'm not sleeping. From 55 seconds to finish, and I'm ready for time. And when the time's over, 55 minutes over, of course, time done, and I lay down. But I was still moving my legs, and my opponent he shows fingers to me, and he said he's out. Of course, I was in. I just take 2 seconds breathe, and I said, "Oh, what are you talking about? I'm in." And I tried to stand up, of course. But doctors came in, and they told me to, stay down, don't move, don't move. Of course, I was tired after hard 1 minute, and I lay down. I trance them. I take relax. I know I win fight, and after I stand up when they let me out, and I celebrate. I jump to the cage, and I celebrate my win. And after when judges scored the fight, and they said TKO, I lost TKO after 15 minutes. When I tap, when I sleep, when I show them I was asleep. Never. I don't know what they think. I don't understand still, and nobody explained to me.
All right, Merab, so let me say it like this.
Yes.
First of all, you fought amazing. I got to tell you that, man. You had an incredible pace, and whether it was striking or grappling, I mean, that was really, really a great performance, and I can't wait to see you fight again.
Thank you.
So, but I want to say this. When I watched the fight that night, I also believe you were giving us the information that led us to believe that you were not out. I saw a thumbs up. I saw you pedaling your legs. In fact, it didn't even look like you communicated with the ref, okay? Now, I'm a fan. I'm watching the fight at home. I'm familiar with, the submissions, the strikes, everything from covering the sport. And to me, it looked like you had made it to the end. However, since then, both Mark Goddard and Big John McCarthy have done interviews and explaining the rules, and now watching the video over again, I at least see their point. And I actually, when John McCarthy was on our show, I actually still, I guess, had a slight disagreement, because even though, so the one thing we came to a conclusion is when you did get that takedown and your head slammed to the ground, if you look at your body, it does look like you go out. Now, somehow, I mean, we know fighters go in and can come back out and still compete. And so in this process, you're now mounted. He has you in the guillotine, and you are defending. You're communicating. It looked like 3 times you signaled for the thumbs up, except one of them was clear and the other 2 are like subtle maybe, but still, it felt like there was communication there. The referee also lifted your hand, and your hands, you showed him that you were in the fight there. So I'm getting all that, but Big John McCarthy was explaining to us that in that process, what can happen to someone that's in a submission is they can go in and they can go out, depending on where the
split, Joe.
I agree
Where
with
the
you,
application
but
is on the carotid artery, and he was saying that because of that, there were times that you were out, not only with just the slam, but during the submission. That's why the referee ruled upon the submission being taken off that you were out. So that's how it was explained to us, and that's how I'm passing it on to you.
Okay, I understand. I agree with you. But now let me tell you something. So if I was in and out, why referee not stop me? Why he's not trying to save me? Why he's not stop fight? And if he stop fight, I will stand up. But he not stop. He knows never stop fight. He let me. He see it. He made sure. I mean, see, I was in. I have open eyes. I was moving all minute. My legs. I was active. I was still fighting. And fight's over. Fight's over. Fight's over. And doctors tell me to stay down. I stay down. And I was moving. I have a reaction for everything. So okay, and John McCartney now he's yeah, I understand of course he is a referee, big referee, but he's not like he's only one, and everyone is tied to me. Only John McCartney and like one more referee talking about something. They trying to find some reason, but I was in and out. Doesn't make sense. Why they don't stop me?
All right, we have UFC middleweight Julian Marquez here with us as well. He's co-hosting today's show. Go ahead, Julian. What do you want to say?
So I kind of agree with this situation that goes down. Like, I believe when the bell rings, if this was in the second round and that happened, then there's another round. I believe right there, boom, the fight is over and we could do a TKO loss. But the bell is there to stop the fights. And the bell's there to stop the time, the lot of time that's there, and the ref is there to stop the fight. During that time, that 50 seconds of this crazy performance of him staying awake during this whole time, he battled 50 seconds of this, and the bell rang. Regardless if he was out or not, the bell would ring, and you can go out within an instant. It can be, 1 second or a half a second. It doesn't take, 20 seconds to go out, depending on where it goes. Right. So if the bell already was rang, in my opinion, and the ref didn't stop it during the allotted time that he needed to. He stopped it after it.
That's what we felt. We felt the same thing, that once he made it to the finish line, the fight's over. Big John had to explain to us that it was established that he was out before that, and that's why they ruled it that way. But here's what I was going to say was, picture you're against the cage, all right, and you're covered up, and Goes is taking it to you, and he's hitting you, and you're covered up, and then at the end, the bell goes off, and the referee interjects, and then Goes raises his arms, walks away, and at that point in time, if you were to just fall and crumble, I don't think they would go back and rule it a TKO loss. They would say, no, the fight's over, but let's get him some medical attention. And that's what we thought, but somehow they explained in the submission. Goes, did you capture more of what John was saying? Because it confused me a little, but in the end, he is Big John. He knows the rules, and Mark Goddard was there to also support, and he said that because they felt like he was out, they established that he was out prior to the fight ending.
But then why didn't you call it?
I know. I understand what Merab's saying. I understand what Merab's saying.
He did it late, because what he was saying was whenever the referee does that, it's not saying it's the end of the fight. Or at the end of the round, he's saying that's the end of the fight. So it means he was calling it. He just called it late, which kind of doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, and it's rough because at the same time, like, this was, I mean, I didn't know he was out, and then when he let him go, he was out for a split second, or he was just laying there because, I mean, dude, that neck look. Hey, how does your neck feel? Can you answer that? Because that's one question I want to know.
A little sore.
Is it hurt?
Yeah, a little sore also. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything's good. I just a little sore. I just started today. A little training, little running, but I'm fine. Everything's good.
Yeah, but so that's what I see is, like, he sat there and fought that whole entire time, and he was doing good. And, Ricky, I mean, that was an impressive fight. That's why they both got the fight of the night. That was an amazing fight, and the circumstances were just – it sucks how it ended, because I believe the bell, once it's over, since the fight's over, it shouldn't affect the decision.
That's what I thought, too,
And then
man.
if you don't call it beforehand, then it didn't stop. Why did you let him go for 50 seconds? If he felt the need that he was out,
right?
Why didn't you jump in there?
So another thing they said was the referee didn't handle it right. However, the right guy won because it was established that Merab Dvalishvili was out, and so
it's one of those things where right now you got to look at it, and there's always going to be two sides to the answer.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you're just gonna have to move forward, man.
Yeah. So Merab, I know you want to appeal. If the appeal is successful, I think they'll obviously call it a no contest. And if it's unsuccessful, then it'll stay as a loss on your record. But one thing you've been pretty clear about is you want a rematch, right?
Yes, I wanna rematch. Yes, I wanna rematch. Yeah, of course. I know. Yeah, I want a rematch. Yes. I want to as soon as possible. Yeah. Yeah, he's good. My good opponent. I know he's good. He's now 13-1, but I'm a good fighter too. And I mean, I have a couple lows in my record. Sometimes I was sick. I had flu. I never turn a fight down. But
yeah, you definitely in that fight you proved a lot of heart. You know, most people would give
this
up.
guy's good, man. Like,
would give up.
No disrespect, Merab, but I don't know. I can't believe you've lost 4 times. I mean, that was amazing. I don't know if you have a nickname, but you're a fucking tank. Like, seriously, like, who has that kind of output? That was like a lot of energy. And I kept thinking, oh, is he going to slow down in the second? Oh, is he going to slow down in the third? He never slowed down. I was like, wow.
What's crazy is he put out that much energy. He put out that great of a performance. And then 50 seconds of it was cut off. Like, let's take a lung away.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't able to breathe, but he still was able to go.
Yeah, Merab, look, we're feeling you, man. We understand that rule is a little bit confusing. I trust in Big John's judgment and Mark Goddard, who was there, and their explanations. Maybe it's a rule that needs to be figured out in a certain way, because that is a little misleading to the fans as well, who felt like you did cross the finish line. There was no tap. You didn't go out. The communication was there with the ref. A lot of times we've heard other refs in the past say, hey, give us a thumbs up. You did that. When he went to, the old Hulk Hogan, he lifted up his arm, and I thought if it would have flopped, okay, then that's when he ends the fight. Nope, it didn't flop. He had a flexion there, and so again, it's just kind of confusing, and what sucks is he doesn't get his win bonus. Luckily, he did get fight of the night bonus, but he doesn't get his win bonus, and he does take an L. But let me tell you something, Merab, your stock did not drop, man. I think the UFC recognizes it, fans recognize it, media recognizes it, and if you can just live with having that 4th loss, maybe the appeal, if that's what you want to do to get satisfaction, great, and if not, let me tell you something. A lot of people just are really into you and your next. Your future opponent, whether it's Ricky Simone or anybody else, man. So you created a lot of fans with that performance on Saturday.
Yeah, just keep going, man. You're a savage. You won me over, man. That was an impressive performance, man. Just keep going with it.
Thank you so much. Also, I appreciate the UFC. They give me fight of the night. This is big things for me. Also, thank you so much, everyone. Like I feel everywhere. People, when people met me, everyone told me I win this fight. People text me in my Facebook, Instagram. It's like a lot of text messages, a lot of comments. Everyone talking about I win, and I know I win, and I know. That's helpful, but thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for the time. Thank you, Merab. We really appreciate it. Get some rest, and hopefully we get to see you fight soon, all right? Hopefully here in Las Vegas where we're at, we'd love to see you fight in person.
I'll see you.
All right, take care, buddy.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, we're going to take our last break of the second hour. That was Merab Dvalishvili. I think I got it. Dvalishvili. And you can follow him on Twitter, just like his name. Let me spell it out. MERABDVALISHVILI. Oh, no. Sorry. His Twitter handle does not have the last I because there's only 15 characters, and I guess we ran out. So it's Merab Dvalishvili on Twitter. We'll be right back.
The kids stole the monkey at 4, 5, 6.
They taught Andy Griffith how to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Hear every pick of the NFL Draft on NFL Radio Channel 88. Coverage kicks off tomorrow morning at 11 Eastern. And as we join Bruce Murray and Phil Savage, they'll broadcast live from the NFL's Play Football event in Dallas, talking to all the top prospects the day before they're selected, only on Sirius XM NFL Radio Channel 88. See, I thought it was me misreading this, but they spelled it wrong. They say coverage kicks off tomorrow morning at 11 Eastern as join Bruce Murray. See, that threw me off. So I had to ad-lib that.
You like Ron Burgundy?
Thank
You
God,
just read it the way it
I'm
is?
talented. All right. So listen, folks. We our original lineup was Jared Rosholt and Julian Marquez. We added Merab Dvalishvili, and so now what we're going to do is play a quick pre-record that we did, all three of us actually. Goes got thrown there in at the end. You might catch that little scramble from him. But we're going to play that quick interview, and then we'll be back. We will finish up with Julian Marquez. We'll talk a little bit more about the fight that he has coming up, clean up a few of the topics that were still on the tip of our tongues. He thinks Frankie should be next. I'm like, I don't know about all that, so I want to debate that with Julian. And close out with a street fight story, and then that'll be a wrap for today. So here we go, folks. This is a replay of Jared Rosholt from earlier today. All right, folks, joining us on the hotline is Jared Rosholt, who will be fighting in the inaugural PFL card that's coming up here in a few weeks, June 7th to be exact, in New York City. Now, remember, PFL has stated 6 divisions, something like 8, 12 fighters are going to participate in the regular season, and at the end, when they come to their playoffs, the winner gets $1 million. The runner-up gets $200,000 for crying out loud. So this is going to be a nice run for at least 2 fighters per weight class to make some good money. Along the way, they're going to get paid in the regular season. And, of course, that $1 million payout. Come on, man. Look at the names here. Lance Palmer, Mike Kyle, Sean Jordan. I mean, these are names that we're very familiar with. And, of course, we're going to be talking to Jared Rosholt, who will be fighting Valdrin Estefri in the first PFL. It's PFL 1, and I guess we're calling it a regular season matchup. What's up, Jared? How you doing, my man?
Good. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Good, yeah. Thanks for joining us here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Of course, I got Goes with me as always, and we also have UFC middleweight Julian Marquez here with us. So, Jared, you know, this is a regular season game, man. You and I, we're always talking 49ers, and what are we going to do in the regular season? Can we make the playoffs? And now we can actually use football terminology in mixed martial arts. So, I guess, what are you in right now? Some sort of a training camp? Getting ready for the regular season game 1?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, just getting ready for that first game of the season.
Yeah, all right. And so you drew this guy, Valdrin Estefri. Now, I just named off a bunch of names that I'm familiar with. This one's one I'm not. So I'm sure by now you've either popped in the YouTube or your coaches have done some homework. But what? Give me a little scouting report on this cat.
He's a decent sized heavyweight. I think he's 6'3", about 258, 260, somewhere in there. You know, kind of a light on his feet, moves around pretty good. He's got pretty decently quick hands. You know, I've watched a handful of his videos, and of course I'll watch as much as I can find on him. Everything I see is like I said, moves around real well, quick hands, and but it's hard to judge. It's hard to judge his level of competition, being that he's from Switzerland, and a lot of his fights are against guys that I don't know of, never heard of, have trouble finding stuff on. So, you know, I'm not really sure how high the level of competition is that he's fought, but yeah, it's a good matchup. I like it, and all right. Of course, the way that things are with PFL, you're going to fight a lot of guys, so it doesn't really matter.
All right, cool. Sorry, I was kind of butting in there. I apologize. So what I want to ask you is I'm going to get the party started here. You know, PFL just had this announcement, so I'm sure their first sets of interviews are coming in through all the media outlets that are out there. But you know, I'm gonna get things going in a different direction. You saw this guy. You popped in some videos. I keep saying pop in like we're in the DVD era. All right, you hit play and started watching some videos on YouTube or whatever. What was your first reaction, Jared? Was it like closer to, man, I got this? Or was there concern like, hey, man, homeboy's got some skills?
It was more like I've got this, you know. But it's not all that often that I worry too much about a guy whenever I watch their videos. But I always think that I've got him, you know. But
right,
of course, that doesn't always work out that way. But it is that is the way that I think, you know. Is hey, this is what he does, and I know that I can do better. So you know, I know that my strengths are stronger than his, and that's for sure what I thought when I watched him.
Does a lot of this come from Oklahoma State? 4 years of Oklahoma State and battling tough cats everywhere, you know what I mean? In the wrestling room, whether it's your own teammate, whether it's the Big 12 or whatever they're called now, these conferences change names all the time, or even getting to the NCAA, you know, and doing as well as you did. Does it all stem from there? Like, all the fears of facing another man in some form of combat went away in those years?
Yeah, it just doesn't really matter, you know, because even like when you're a freshman and you're going up against guys who are really good, they were seniors in college wrestling, it just didn't matter because you had to go out there and you had to try and find a way to win, and being scared and stuff didn't never do anything for you anyway. So it kind of carried over to fighting. I don't really worry about it. I know guys are tough. I know almost anybody that does it's pretty tough, and I'm tough myself, so I don't ever really worry about that. I always think that I can take them, or somehow I can figure out a way to win.
Jared Rosholt, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He's going to be fighting at PFL 1 on June 7th in New York City as PFL kicks off their regular season, which winds up with a playoff in which the winners from the different weight classes can win $1 million. All right, goes. What do you have for Jared Rosholt?
Hey, Jared, how different do you have to prepare for this type of tournament? Because let's not forget, like, these are a lot of fights back to back to back. Do you have to fight any different? I know guys on The Ultimate Fighter sometimes say they have to hold back on certain techniques that they usually do in the fight because they know there's such a quick turnaround.
Well, yeah, it is going to be a little bit different, especially because that first round of the playoffs, there's going to be 2 fights in one night, and you know, that first fight is 2 rounds, and apparently if you split rounds with the guy, it's whoever won that first round, it goes to that guy. So it's going to be, you know, I'm not sure what other people's strategies are and stuff, but I'd like to make sure that I for sure won it and made sure I did it, you know, pretty dominantly, so there's no question. But I imagine some people might say, hey, I'm going to go out there and go really hard that first round and secure it, and then just stay safe and kind of conserve energy for the next fight. I could see people doing that, but that's not really my strategy. It's not what I would recommend for myself. But yeah, I definitely think you gotta. It's different. You definitely have to go approach it with the thought that, hey, I'm gonna have another 15 minutes to fight after this, probably.
Damn, that is crazy. And both rounds are 5 minutes, but the first round just weighs more.
Yeah, 2 5-minute rounds, and the first one, I guess if it splits, it's whoever won that first round. So I guess it goes back to the kickboxing glory or something like that. I guess they used to do it like that.
Man, there's no fucking around. There's no touching gloves. There's nothing. You got to get to work. You got 5 minutes. You got to make the most of it. All right. We also got Julian Marquez here, UFC middleweight. He's co-hosting the show with us. Julian, what do you got for Jared?
Hey, I got a question. So you know, wrestled in college and you wrestled for one of the elite schools out there. Do you think that this gives you an advantage over your other opponents because you're so used to having the bracket form where it didn't matter what name was next, you just had to fight and keep going to get the to the end of the bracket?
Yeah, actually that's exactly what my thought process was whenever they first explained how it was going to work and everything. Was this is nothing new to me, you know, as far as fighting wise it is, but you know, my whole life has been wrestling tournaments. It's you know, wrestle and then you get an hour or something or whatever, and then you're back out there wrestling again, and so this isn't uncharted territory for me or anything like that. This is, I think it's still pretty fresh on my brain on how to deal with that kind of thing and to go recover in between rounds and stuff. I definitely think I have an advantage over guys that aren't used to that kind of thing. You know, the wrestling tournaments and stuff, when you're in them, I mean, you don't know. You might be sitting there for 4 hours. You might be turn around and wrestle again in an hour. You know, and you know, the recovery time and stuff and how you refuel and stuff is pretty key.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So with this fight coming up and knowing that you have this tournament style and the bracket style and the multiple fights in a day, how do you train your mind for that to get prepared? Like you said, going from, you win the first fight and then you have another fight later that night. Do you do like a mental coach, or how do you train your mentality on that?
No, I don't do like a mental coach or anything like that. I think for me, my thought is that I'm going to go out there and win that first fight, and then after that, I know that other guy's going to get beat up worse than me probably. I know that he's going to come in probably more wore out than I am, and I'll know that from experience from all those years of wrestling tournaments and stuff like that, that I'll be able to figure it out to go out there and perform the way that I need to win. And I don't know that those guys have ever had that kind of experience to fall back on. And for me, mentally, that's huge for me. I don't even question it. I know I can do it.
All right. Jared Rosholt, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. I'm looking at Valdrin Istafri's resume, and I just, like you, Jared, I don't recognize these names, But I go back and look at yours, and I'm wondering what he thought when he said, well, who's this guy fought? I'm sure he knows who you are, but just to brush up, Timothy Johnson, Josh Copeland, Stefan Struve, those are some really, really nice skins to have on your wall. You had a nice run there in the UFC, so I'm sure there's a lot of worry coming from his end as well. Man, I'm excited for you. In this 6 months, you could be a millionaire. And right around the time the 49ers are entering the playoffs, you can take me to a game with all that money. Does that sound about right?
Hey, you're on.
I'll buy the beers. How's that sound? I'll pay for parking too. Parking's like $50 at an NFL game, so
you might lose money. I heard it's more than that.
Yeah, maybe I should pick up the tickets. Anyway, Jared, I hope things go well for you, man. With this camp, we got about 6 weeks left, and then of course I'm excited because I love high stakes athletics. And I think the PFL's done a nice twist here with the $1 million prize. So you guys get paid along the way, and then the $1 million at the end. It could really be a nice 2018 for you.
It's an amazing opportunity, man. It's finally, besides feeling like a professional when you get up to the upper organizations like the UFC and the PFL and stuff. Now it's kind of like you got that idea that you might get paid like a professional finally. And that's very exciting. It's new. It's win or go home, man. I love it.
Right on, my man. Well, hey, hopefully we can catch up as things progress throughout the season and the playoffs. But for now, thanks for the time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. I'd love getting on here.
All right, bud. Take care. Folks, give him a follow on Twitter at Jared Rosholt, just like his name is spelled, Jared Rosholt. All right, folks, that was our interview earlier today with Jared Rosholt. And how about that, man? I negotiated. So I provided recap for our editorial team. So MMA Junkie, you're welcome. And I also aligned myself, I positioned myself that if the 49ers get to the playoffs, I got him to buy me a ticket.
Yeah, but you're going to spend more. You got to pay for the parking.
I'm from the mean streets of Santa Ana. That's how I get things done. I'm a hustler, and I just do these things, man. In an interview, I was able to do 2 things. Yeah, I will have to pay for parking, but you know what we'll do?
It's like $75.
We'll just Uber over. I'll tell them we'll meet at a bar. And then we'll just Uber over.
Yeah, but then you got to pay for the drinks at the bar, right?
Oh, well.
Yeah.
How much is that ticket going to cost? You know what I mean?
Well, it's the 49ers, so what? Was it buy one, get one free or something?
All right, folks, so check it out. Julian has agreed to do a couple minutes of overtime, so we're going to do what we normally do. We ask the in-studio guest for a good street fight story, and then we definitely want to talk about his upcoming fight at the Tough 27 finale. It'll be Julian Marquez against Alessio Di Chirico, right?
Di
Chirico. All right.
Got to get that Italian spin on it.
I know. Sirius XM audience, you're going to get more combat sports and entertainment. And keep it locked on channel Rush 93 because there's great shows there like the Luke Thomas Show, MMA Tonight with Misha Tate. There's Busted Open, the award-winning Busted Open. They talk about pro wrestling. And, of course, At the Fights with Jerry Cooney and Randy Gordon. The list goes on and on. There's really, really some good shows. So you'll catch replays and things like that. And plus, don't forget, we're on the SiriusXM app as well. So if you missed any part of the show, commercial-free and in HD quality. Now, the rest of you head on over to Facebook.com/official MMA Junkie and YouTube.com/MMA Junkie video for a couple minutes of overtime with Julian Marquez, UFC middleweight.
If you see it once, you'll never be the same again.
born to run. I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last dime. If I wind up broke, well, I'll always remember that I had a swing in time. I'm gonna give it everything I've got.
You guys clear for overtime.
All right, so goes. You heard me talk about Tapology, right? I'm really liking it a lot. Have you ever gone in there?
Yeah, I've been in Tapology.
Yeah. Did you know that you can leave a fight prediction?
No.
So what they want is a username and all that. But I guess if you commit to being, to using it a lot, it's not the end of the world. Username, another password, just add it to the list. But Julian was excited because he's like, scroll down, scroll down. I scroll down, and already anybody that's registered in there, I wish we knew how many people have voted, but 85% of people that have looked at this matchup have Marquez winning this fight over Di Chirico, 15%.
85%?
I didn't know that. Did you?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I really like Tapology. The only thing Tapology, I noticed they left something out that I don't like, and I think it's the referee's name. Let me see the results. What are the results? Oh, I guess I
do they do amateur record too?
I don't know. They might. I don't. I've never really I've looked at this a couple times before.
Yes, I think SureDog gives you the ref's name or Wikipedia. Some of them give you a little bit different information.
Wikipedia will tell you where the event took place.
Yeah, I'd like to know a little bit more information there, like who the ref was. I think, let me see if SureDog does that.
Yeah, SureDog tells you.
Yeah, there's the ref's name. See, I like that. Just a little extra detail,
So you just need someone to mesh all of these things together where you can be more involved.
Shout out to Tapology and SureDog over the years. They provided that fight finder. Julian, can you share a good street fight story with us?
Okay, so there's many street fight stories, but I wasn't part of one. We used to have backyard boxing, but that story is different. I'll give you the story of probably the most intense moment in high school for myself and my friends. So
were you a young freshman or a savvy senior?
I was a junior.
Okay.
But I was a junior. So again, I wrestled growing up, so I was with a lot of savage people, people that have, their accolades in wrestling are just phenomenal. 4-time state champions, national champions. So these guys, if a fight ever broke out, they know what to do. So basically, I'm at school and we're at Oak Park and we're doing something. I don't even know, but someone comes up to me and was like,
Oak Park is a park.
Oak Park is the school. That's what it's called.
School, okay.
And then on the backyard, they have their soccer practice field, and then right behind it, there's an actual park area. And this is a few acres, so it's a little ways from the school. And then we were talking about it, and it was just a story of basically high school drama. This girl was talking to this guy from this school, but also talking to this guy from our school, and then that guy started some beef with our friend, and then it became a school fight. From this is before social media, so we're literally texting stuff, and then people are calling each other up. They're creating this giant fight to where it's school versus school, and I showed up because we don't know how many people are going to be there, but at the same time I'm still going to be there in case something needs me, but you probably don't. It's supposed to be these two guys. So we show up. This is we end up playing it on Friday. We all show up on Saturday, and I'm just okay, let's do this. So we go there, and I didn't realize how many people were phoned on our side. We probably had 30+ people in this group, so I'm okay, this is going to get intense.
Where do you rank in those 30? Are you top 10?
Me?
Yeah, are you
dude,
one of the top boys?
I was a mediator. I didn't really, I don't like fighting. I don't think that anything stalls of anybody getting beat up, especially in high school, but I like watching it. So I'd make sure people wouldn't go above and beyond and kill somebody. Because my friends, they're a little crazy.
Yeah. Head stompers.
Oh, they would. Okay. The thing is, we had they called our squad the Goon Squad. We were GS. So we'd walk around calling each other goons or goonies because, we were just there. Whenever stuff popped off, we were the guys that, settled it. So anyways, back to the story. So we show up to this park. So you got to sit there and think. We pull into the parking lot and we go, we pull into the parking lot, and all of a sudden you just see everybody just whipping their car in, you know. And you get out of the car, and everyone's pulling 4 deep out of the car. Sometimes people have like 7 people in this like little coupe. So you have these guys coming out, and the way it was is like when you come like from the school parking lot and you go up, you have to go up like a small little hill. And then when you get up to the top of the hill, then it's just a flat ground, and that's where the soccer field is. And you know, there's another little parking lot to where you can go to the actual park. So, you know, we're walking up, and I swear if you would have a camera like facing us, it would look like Braveheart, where old boy just starts walking over the hill, and then all of a sudden just a big squad of people start walking behind.
Right.
So as we come up the hill, we do this, and we look over, and the same exact thing happens with Winnetonka. That was the school at the time. They piled in their fighters and wrestlers, and their people that were just there to be, you know, bystanders. I don't know, but they had probably about 20 or 30 people with them. And
are we in the era of World Star and all that shit? Or
no,
that
no. Okay. This was like you remember Break.com, where like people would upload videos to Break. That was the era.
Okay.
Where Break was like the World Star of the footage, and so we all get there, and you know, we're all walking up, and as we're coming up, like, you start realizing, like, these guys are not, there's nobody big there. So, like, you have a whole bunch of big guys on us, like heavier wrestlers. You also have, like, little scrappy wrestlers, but we came prepared. Like, we traveled in packs. And these guys, I don't think they were prepared. So, like, they were watching us, and, like, they were talking to us. Some guy pointed at me. He's like, I don't want to fight that guy. That guy's big. And I sat there, and I was like, dude, it's supposed to be A person and B person. They're fighting. We're just here to make sure stuff doesn't, you know, go wrong.
You had 30. How many did they have?
Dude, we probably had more than 30. I'm telling you, we had a lot. I think they had less. So you know how a football field, whenever you see it, like, it's packed with 11 people.
Yeah.
And then you have 22 people when it's packed. We had way more than 22. I can tell you that much. Like, we had a giant horseshoe of people.
So let's call it 50?
I wouldn't go 50, but we were close. We're between.
All right, 40?
Yeah, we probably.
What did they have?
They probably had like 20 to 30 tops.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, I mean, we were there, but we had the advantage of people.
But you got bigger guys, too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And these guys, like, they came in, and they had like 2 big guys, but, like, they weren't, like, fit big guys. They were just big dudes that probably played, like, Halo at the time. And they came out to try to, like, you know, oh, I'm going to, you know, size these people up.
Right.
So, anyways, they're just talking, and you know how most of these battles go. They're just chat. So I'm sitting there. I'm just like, all right, well, these 2 people are fighting. I'm here to protect this person and this person in case something happens, because that's how we rolled. It wasn't like I'd protect these people because everybody would be everywhere. You protect your 2 littles or your people beside you. So I'm like, all right, I'm here for this person and this person. Someone else had my back and vice versa. So we all had like a system. Well, they're just talking and, you know, talking crap, and then all of a sudden, one of my friends, we call him P, he just said, F it. And he just walks into the middle of this, like, brush of, you know, 20 or 30 guys and just starts punching people. You have kids running away, and then our guys just start running in and just attacking them. And I'm sitting there like, oh, my gosh, like, what is going on? It was
much
like,
for that system, huh?
Oh, it was
a lot, P.
Yeah, P just ruined it all. So he runs in, like, everybody starts running in. So I go to get in, but I'm going to save people because you can see that their side were mentally not prepared to battle us. You could see people falling off and running away. And then it got to the point where, you know, this all happens in seconds, you know, where you're sitting there and I start seeing my friends. There's 3 dudes beating the crap out of one little guy. Like, I'm telling you, he's probably a $150, and these guys that are fighting him are 200, 180, and then probably another 150 pound there. So this guy's 500 pounds worth of people beating up one dude. So I'm running over trying to grab them off to save this opposite kid. I have no clue who it is. And then as I throw them off, somebody comes over to try to cheap shot me, thinking that I'm jumping on them. And then one of my friends jumps over my back. Like, literally, as I'm pulling here, someone jumps over. Dude, he just flies over because I'm here. I'm leaning over, pulling my guy off the top of, you know, said guy. So I'm pulling him off, and this guy just jumps over my back, and you just see at, like, the corner of your eye, another dude just get blitz tackled. Like, if you're playing old school Blitz 2000. You remember how they'd like jump up and then I'd tackle them and just throw them out? So I'm sitting there just looking over like, what is going on? As I'm ripping these people out, you just see bodies flying everywhere, people getting thrown. You're looking over at this side and you have your friends, again, they're wrestlers, collegiate wrestlers, throwing other kids for 5, like tossing them over their head, on top of their head, and just smashing down. And I'm sitting there in the middle of this with my hands over my head and just like, what is going on? What did we do? And note, they had 30 people. There was only 4 people that were fighting, and all 40 of our guys were in this. Like literally everyone was in this fight. So it's just a massacre.
Out, huh?
Yeah. Oh, dude, it was. I'm telling you, like, if you would see as like a high schooler when you saw this, it looked unfair. It looked like it was seniors versus freshmen. It looked like it was the wrestling team versus
Did their guys completely clear out or just back up?
Oh, they cleared out. They were running. People were running away, and like our guys, we just had so many.
Like Ike Clanton from the Cowboys, he's always running away.
Pretty much.
Who won the one-on-one fight? Did you guys win that one too?
I don't even know what happened on the one-on-one fight. There was no such thing. It was messed up.
Did anybody roll down the hill?
No, there was people. Look, so the hills, it was flat and it's on both sides. So there's people falling off towards the side. They were fighting down the hill. There's people going this way. Like they're just all over the place. And I'm sitting there trying to pull people off. But at one point in time where it's just like, dude, there's nothing I can do. And I realized they had nobody.
Do you have a great amount of respect for the 4 that stuck around though, even though they got their ass kicked?
No, they weren't trying to stick around. That's the problem. They were.
Oh, all 30 wanted to clear out. They just got caught.
Yeah, they were the one that got grabbed.
It's like that last antelope that just doesn't make it, and the fucking lion pounces on them.
They were swinging. They were trying to do their best, and no one was knocked out, but it was pretty vicious. Like the aftermath, once everybody calmed down, the aftermath was completely. It was
one of the 4 the guy that was supposed to represent the other side?
I don't even know. I literally don't know what happened because all I do know is that after we left, we're all sitting there talking. We go home and everyone splits over, and I was with the guy with the situation, and he got text saying like, "Oh, you're a pussy."
Talking about the guy from Jersey Shore?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So essentially, Ronnie, we'll call him. So he gets text, and it's pretty much saying that like, "Oh, you're a pussy. You brought your whole squad here to fight me, and you couldn't do it one-on-one." And it was like, what the hell? Like, so that he just started to back up even after his whole entire people just got beat. And it was intense.
Damn.
You know who he is? He's Collateral in Bronx Tale in that fight.
A little bit, yeah.
He's just making
Did
sure.
you ever see
like,
Bronx Tale?
Yeah. Oh,
Remember C when his friends were winning and he was taking them off?
Dude, you got to – there comes a point where, like, it gets unfair. You know what I mean? Like, I know what my friends are capable of. It's kind of like having a whole bunch of UFC fighters fight a bunch of street people. You know what I mean? You see videos like that. That would be messed up. Or MMA fighters. Shouldn't say UFC. Just MMA fighters, people that are trained to do this stuff. Like, when you have a whole bunch of wrestlers that their entire life is based upon, one-on-one combat, and then you put 2 of them on one person that has no clue what's going on, that think they can fight, it's not fun to watch. And you can, like... Dude, you can really kill somebody. Like, these guys are insane.
So thank you for sharing that story. Let me ask you one last thing here. You said when Frankie Edgar won, he should be next for Ortega and Holloway.
Okay.
I disagree. I'm going to tell you why. Because Frankie's been at the top for a long time. We got to remember there's other featherweights that are making their way up, and they're not losing fights. Frankie just lost a fight. So when that happens, others have to be afforded the chance to make a run. Now, I'm not saying Frankie just fell to the bottom of the ladder. I'm just saying he fell down a notch. I think someone like Moicano, who's only got 1 loss to Ortega, he battled Ortega in that fight. So it's almost like a common loss. As he's kind of coming up, Frankie's, right there. And I think them 2 should fight the same night as Holloway and Ortega. And the reason I would do that is in case Ortega can't make it to the dance, then I'd say, okay, Frankie Edgar, fight Holloway. If Holloway can't make it to the dance, then we either preserve that matchup for later, or maybe one of those 2 fights Ortega for the interim, if, let's say, something serious happens to Max where he's going to be out for a while. But I like that type of insurance. But I really feel like he needs one more fight, not just the Cub fight, because, look, Elkins has a 6-fight win streak. Jeremy Stevens has a 3-fight win streak. And I know Jeremy lost to Frankie Edgar not too long ago. But, Moicano, he's pretty tough. I just feel like others have to be afforded.
Who was the
chance.
last person Moicano beat?
He just beat Calvin Kattar a few weeks ago.
That's
and Kattar was 18-2 going into that fight.
Yeah, no, that was a tough fight.
Yeah.
That was a good fight, actually. Very technical. So this is why I sit there and think of this. And this is why when it comes to this ranking system, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work at all. You have to understand this. Frankie Edgar was supposed to fight Max Holloway. He was already had his title fight, and you know what he did? He put his title fight up to fight just to fight that night, and he fought Ortega. He came on the losing end on that side. Yes, I understand that, but he saved that card because honestly, if you take that card or that fight away, would it be as much of a sale as it was before? You know, not saying anything to anybody that was on that card. It was a great one, but he sat there and he took one for the team. He's like that person that you're talking about. If he was a champion, he'd fight. And he'd keep on fighting. He wouldn't sit on the sidelines. You know what I mean? He fought, and then guess what? None of that. He took a short notice fight against Cub Swanson just to do what? To save the card. That guy is a true fighter.
Well, that card already had a main event, though. It had Lee and Barbosa.
But the card was falling apart. They were supposed to have, you know, what was it, Uriah Hall and Paulo Costa, and that card fell through. Paulo Costa got injured. It was supposed to have somebody else, and they fell through. And then all this stuff started falling off. No. This last card was probably one of the best cards this year. It was an amazing turnout. Hey, you okay? Yeah. It was amazing. It was an amazing turnout of fights and everything. But you know, I think Frankie deserves to at least get that. He came back, took a short notice fight, had a dominating performance. I do believe that, you know, he should face the winner of Max Holloway in that because of...
It may work out that way. I mean, I know the UFC is, you know, they support Frankie and they often look at the business side of things, so it may work out that way. Alessio Di Chicrio, that's who you are going to be fighting.
Correct.
On July 6th, and this is one day before UFC 226, so it's obvious you're on the Tough 27 finale. Talk about that matchup.
Man,
you're excited about the style matchup?
Yeah, it's a great style. I mean, it's a good, like, I'm not jumping into the next, like, look, my goal is to go for gold, and by any means necessary, I'm trying to go for gold. And I'm also trying to build myself up, you know. I understand and respect the factor of the ranking system. I understand and respect the factor of, you know, fighting. And I'm slowly going to inch my way up because that's what I have to do. You know, I have to earn respect. I can't just jump in and take it. You know, so I'll stay this guy that's slowly building up. And right there, I think that Alessio has had some great fights in the UFC. He's had some memorable fights, and he had some tough losses. Don't get me wrong. This guy is there to win by any means. He's there to put on a show. He's there to fight. He doesn't care who he's standing in front of, you know. And he's down to compete. Where, like, that's what I loved about Darren. He was down to compete. That's why we took the fight in 9 days' notice, is because Darren's there to compete. And when you get two fighters that want to compete, you end up seeing who has the most heart. Like, again, with Merab Dvalishvili and
Merab Dvalishvili.
And then Ricky, those two wanted to compete. They wanted to win. They wanted to compete, and they put on a performance.
Yeah.
You know, so our styles are perfect for each other. You know, he may come out and try to wrestle me. He may come out and try to bang me or throw hands. Don't want to put it on that one. That one sounded very weird. But he wants to go there and he wants to fight. And that's the best part, is that him and I, like, we're gonna put on a show. We're gonna sit there and we're gonna get people to draw attention to this card. We have two different unique backgrounds. We're two different multicultural people, yet we respect the fight game and we respect each other so much that when we go in there, like, even though we respect each other, we know we're here to win, and there's only one person that's going to win. So I think through this matchup, stylistically, I think it's gonna be lightning, you know.
You know, usually we say, hey, I hope you have a safe camp because there's a few months left, and you know, we'll see you in a few months, but hopefully we can have you back. But one thing I noticed, or we talked about earlier, I won't, you know, we talked about tacos, and then I mentioned something about alcohol, and you were telling me you don't even drink anymore. So you're going to have a safe camp for sure, but as far as nutrition, it'll be on point. Yeah,
it'll be on point. I'm working with Clint over there at the UFC Performance Institute on my nutrition, my diet, just to make sure everything's like golden. But I stay away from drinking. I stay away from doing any like drugs just because, you know, I just don't know when to quit. You know, I don't know when to quit drinking. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I have a great time. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad drunk. I'm not addicted to it. I love having fun, and I constantly want to have fun. So I don't stop until I drop. You know, it's the old saying, and we'll party, you know, being Hispanic, we'll party all the way till 5 o'clock in the morning. Even though you're trying to go to bed, I'll keep you up. But I like having fun. That's why I do all these different things. That's why I took John Orlando and
so
Vanessa
when you
to
go,
dancing.
You go hard.
Yeah, you go
but,
in.
You could also not drink for the next 2 weeks. It's not like you had to have alcohol all the time.
No.
I got you. Okay.
It's either you're in or out. You know what I mean? Like if you're drinking, like if you're gonna drink, why? Like I don't see social drinking. I don't get that. Like alcohol sucks. It tastes so nasty. Like I don't care who you are, but like shots taste so good. You know, you can have some good like Johnny Vegas's. Most people don't know what that is, but that's Patron. That's watermelon liqueur. That's a little bit of cranberry and sugar-free Red Bull. Kind of like a Vegas bomb, but they call it a Johnny Vegas. And you just pull that shot. It tastes like a Jolly Rancher. It's delicious. But you have too many, you're going to sit there and you're going to be spinning because it's tequila. You know?
You're done drinking till the end of your career or just for the immediate future?
To be honest, like I think I'm just done drinking for good because right now I've progressed. I quit drinking. I'm 2 years deep of not like consuming alcohol, and if I were to drink again, it would just kind of be regressing in my life. I would be going backwards. You know, it just doesn't make sense. So right now, like I said, I have 10 years into my career. Like that's a lifespan that I have right now. I can't be fighting when I'm 48. You know, it would hurt. But
what about what Frank Sinatra said?
What
Those that don't drink, the best you're going to feel is in the morning when you wake up.
That's very true. It's very true. Yeah, dude, could you imagine the hangover?
I know. I'm not trying to lead you to it. Hey, I respect it, man. So congrats
cool.
on that.
And don't get me wrong. If we ever went out, I would be buying you drinks like crazy because I want you to enjoy the night. It's fun because if you're having fun, I'm having fun. I'm the fun getter. I'm the person that would sit there. We can be out at a bar. Like I have to be prepared to go to the bar. I have to know, all right, I'm going to. I can't just go like that. I don't like being in bars. But if I know like, hey, this date we're all going to go to the bar, then we're going to go, and then we're going to have the greatest time of our lives. We're going to go out there. We're going to start dancing. Even though you don't dance, I can get you to go out there and dance. I can get you in the feeling. I can bring people in and get everyone just to enjoy the moment.
He shouldn't go with us then, because Goes doesn't like to dance. And I tore my patellar tendon.
Dude, watch.
So I'm recovering. I'd have to do the pogo on one leg.
You could do the sprain like Lisa Turtle.
Like I said this, John Orlando and Vanessa, I brought them both to come dance with me at Millennium Dance Studio because I've been dancing for footwork, and we did Latin ballroom together. And John is like, oh, I have 2 left feet. You know, he sits there and he says he can't dance. He did very well. But the thing is he never would do that if I wasn't there.
That helps you with your footwork for MMA?
Yeah.
Because I remember the Chicago Bear team that won the Super Bowl in 85?
Yeah.
I think it was 85, right? They did that. And a lot of people, they did ballet as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of people made fun of them, but they were like, dude, that's what helped the linemen like move their feet quick and all that.
It is. It teaches you. Like the thing is dance. Like I told you, music can change your mood. And no matter what, if I'm having a rough day and I go there and I go to learn dance, 1, I'm learning something new. 2, I'm learning balance, and I'm building myself in footwork. Like I'm telling you, my feet are moving a lot smoother, and I understand my balance. If I throw a jab and I get overextended, I know how to correct myself a little bit better than I did before, or I know how to move myself out of the way of a punch to where I can come back with a counter, because sometimes I push too far and I'll get the correct angle, but I'm way too far or I'm way off balance to where I can't throw. To where dancing, you're constantly moving footwork, and you have to get on your toe, the ball of your toe, your heel, and you're moving around, and literally it teaches you just a different feel for your weight placement.
As uncomfortable as John Orlando was that night, you got him to go dancing. We got him in a more uncomfortable situation.
What'd you guys do?
He had to sit in his underwear for a whole show.
Nope.
And a diaper.
A diaper. He was telling me that. You guys made a bet, and then he walked the strip.
We had to take him out to the Excalibur. He walked the whole Mandalay Bay in a diaper.
Dude, that's impressive right there. Yeah. He was telling me that story. He's like,
shout out to John Orlando for lining up Julian Marquez.
It was amazing.
It's been great having you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Listen, I know your camp is starting, but if you find yourself with a like a nice little 2-day break and you just want to come chop it up with us, you're more than welcome to. We'll continue, previewing your fight. Or if you're laser focused and maybe after the fight or fight week or whatever, but we had a great time with you, and you're more than welcome to come by anytime.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Oh, okay. One more call apparently. Are you still okay with overtime?
Yeah, let's go.
Fuck, all right. Showtime from Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's yo time.
Hey, what's going on, guys? And
this is the truck driver.
Mother freaking Cuban Missile Crisis, man.
What up, Showtime?
Man, I won some money off you, man. I want you during that contender series, man. I won a couple $100 off you, man.
Hey,
so
there we go. I'm glad
liking
I can
your
help you
career,
out.
Man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like you fiery, got plenty of heart, and you one of those guys that we want to tune in to watch fight because we know you don't have no quit in you, and I like that, man.
I love it, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate having you as a fan. They're all telling me that you're a big asset and a big partner here.
Yeah, he's one of our top callers. That's why we let him slide in here, even though we should be bouncing, watching Liverpool and Roma.
No, it's all good. What are you doing right now?
Hey, man. I'm headed to I'm gonna make a pit stop in Mississippi, man. I just left Texas, and Marco called in earlier, and I want to give a big shout out to him and his family, man, for the hospitality. Beautiful little girl, sweet wife. We had a couple beers, man. Enjoyed it. Talk some MMA.
Very cool. All right, Showtime. Thanks for calling in, my man. We'll talk. We'll chop it up more during the week.
Okay, guys.
Okay, we'll see you.
Bye,
all right.
Later. All right, folks. That's our show for today. I want to thank Julian Marquez, and again, a shout out to John Orlando for lining that up. Also want to thank Merab Dvalishvili, Stephen Morocco from the editorial. He lined that one up, and Jared Rosholt from PFL. Shout out to myself. I lined that one up. All right, so very cool to hear about your brother. And his talents, and forward us some music. We'd love to play it on our show sometime. And folks, don't forget Danny, the producer. He is going to be in Brooklyn. What's the name of the spot, Danny?
It's the Knitting Factory.
The Knitting Factory on Friday if you want to go catch his band, Automatic 253. Thanks to Danny and Goes for an outstanding job. Julian, you did awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Please come back. I, of course, took it to another level. I was fantastic. So we're out of here. We'll see you all tomorrow with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. Go out there and be champions.